model has incentivized developers to paywall everything in the game or put in absurd time restrictions and hurdles for players to be able to overcome.
You just described Warframe's wait timers. And they were straight up selling power in the beginning? How are they not doing that now? You can buy Warframes. You can buy guns. I'm going to tell you what Warframe's trading for platinum really is. But what he's describing of the, I farmed for an item, I got the item I wanted, and I sold it to a player for platinum. Which, what is platinum? Platinum's real money. What that system is, what he just fucking described, that's Diablo 3's real money auction house. A system everyone hated out of existence. But first, we'll watch this. See if Warframe is a wake-up call. What kind of wake-up call is it? I know what kind of wake-up call it should be, but let's see what this guy says.
Warframe is a wake-up call. Look, the phrases free-to-play and live service, whether by themselves or in combination with one another, don't fill players with a lot of confidence, and they shouldn't, because they become synonymous with games and studios that are under-delivering on a product and service while asking for the absolute most from their audience.
Yeah.
More time, more engagement, more money, extracting as much as they possibly can.
All things Warframe's guilty of.
Amount of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Warframe is the most well-known yet under-discussed and underappreciated games in all of gaming. It's often referred to as the internet's best-kept secret, and I'm tired of it being a secret.
It's not.
For all intents and purposes, Warframe is the blueprint by which many of these free-to-play games and live service games should be following, but they're not.
Should be following?
It's a game that is tirelessly supported by...
Should be following. What? By blueprint, you must mean gameplay. Trying to figure out what part of Warframe should be a blueprint for other games to follow. The excessive grind?
This one we kind of let him say his point. This is all just...
okay. I mean, yeah. Well, I've got to react and drag it out, man. I'm not trying to get struck again.
By its developer and by its community in a way that I don't even think any other game can even replicate. And once you guys hear about some of this stuff, it's going to blow your mind. Free to play.
Okay. Before he goes on his little tirade about what the blueprint for, so everyone knows. No, I'm not heavily biased. I'm heavily honest. I feel like everyone defending Warframe is heavily fucking biased. Look, if you want the blueprint for how to do a free-to-play game that's going to make you buku bucks and not exploit the fuck out of your audience or ruin the gameplay, Fortnite is the blueprint. Fortnite is the blueprint. I've said that 100 fucking times, at least. Fortnite's Battle Pass gives you an assload of content. It's all 100% cosmetic and skippable if you don't want to pay for it. It does mid-season drops. You get the Battle Pass, the bonus Battle Pass, the mid-season drop. It's got a store with rotating items, none of which will give you an advantage even slightly over another player. And it makes billions of dollars with a B. And it did it without compromising gameplay or exploiting its community to act as salesmen for it. But I'm sure we'll get to the point about platinum being tradable and turning your player base economy into a cash cow. I'm saying you're walking in with black tinted glasses. Watch the vid. I ain't watched it yet. No, I'm walking in prepared. No, like, I don't think my glasses are black tinted. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the video. I'm just saying I don't think my glasses are black tinted. I know all the fucking arguments for Warframe already, and I'm mentally prepared to hear them. I just want to hear the justifications for them. Like, this is going to be a Warframe. Look, let's be honest about what this is going to be. It's going to be a Warframe glazing video. Stu is just going to glaze the fuck out of Warframe. That's very clear from the beginning. And I don't feel the game deserves the glaze it gets. I think it needs scrutiny for the shit it does. And I think it needs to change its business model. I agree with him. I think that Warframe shouldn't be a well-kept secret. I think it could be a much bigger game, and it probably could be a blueprint. But in its current state, it ain't that. But we'll watch the video.
Play and live service is supposed to be a way for developers to be able to deliver a smaller product and grow it over time. Be able to deliver a valuable service, a valuable product, and grow it while the community supports it. And that's the kind of game that Warframe is. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Luckily, today's sponsor is actually the game that inspired Warframe. I've played World of Tanks multiple times over the years with my friends, and
All right. Well, I'll talk over. I'm not going to skip the sponsor since I'm watching this video, but I didn't say I wouldn't talk over.
Actively supported for over a decade now.
This is the game that inspired Warframe?
Million registered users.
Didn't this game like get into hot water for its monetization multiple times?
Incredible sound design and hundreds of hours of gameplay.
I think I remember there being a number of controversies about the way.
What inspired them to go free to play?
And heavy tanks.
Yeah, I mean, free to play is a business model.
Combat strategies. It's a free-to-play game.
So they must have liked this game's business model.
Variety of tanks.
So they must have liked
this. Guns blazing or sneaking up on enemies. There's always a new way to play.
No, getting a little echo off of it.
New players will get an amazing deal using the invite code combat and the link in the description below. You get a Cromwell B tier 6.
It's just known for leaking war doc. I remember one of them. Maybe it was the one with battleships, not tanks. But weren't they made by the same company?
Other tier 6 tanks for 10 battles each.
Wasn't there like World of Battleships or something?
To get started. So what is Warframe? It's a looter shooter, live service MMO with a third-person perspective.
World of
You
Warships?
play as a Warframe, dashing through levels, taking down enemies, farming up
there are
materials,
3?
currency.
Okay, it's one of them.
So that you can continue to build more weapons and more Warframes to use.
World of Tanks, World of Warships, and War Thunder. I think World of Warships is the ones that got into hot water for its monetization multiple times.
There's even a frame that lets you create your own music so that you can buff other players. You have pets, ships, clans, PvP, personal housing, boss fights, a roguelike, a fighting game, open worlds, and more. It has consistently
Did they ever put the fighting game in? I thought the fighting game didn't happen.
It did. It's a mini game though, because it's not very good.
Oh, so they didn't make an actual like.
A little bit, but it works.
Oh, okay. Because he made it sound like they actually. Because I remember they were going to make a standalone Warframe fighting game, but that was supposed to be the test for it, and I guess they never did that. Just like they never did anything with PvP. Yeah. Okay. So. Seeing it's just a shitty mini game. So it was another one of those ideas they abandoned. Like PvP is still in the game, but no one uses it, and it's been mostly ignored by the devs since its inception. Like they've just done nothing with PvP. And I'm guessing that they put that mini game in and then did nothing with it.
In the top 20 of the most played games on Steam for over a decade now. And in doing that, there is something inherently special here. If we look at the game's player base on Steam, while it's not burning the world down with insane peaks, it's maintained its player base consistently since 2013.
Yeah, it does a good job. Its community is rabidly dedicated to it. I'll give it that.
Maintain that success. Why is nobody talking about it? And unlike many other live service games, why aren't we hearing people complaining about it or how it mistreats its players?
Oh, you are.
Well,
you're just not listening.
To understand the game's
I've complained about it.
Multiple creators.
I know I'm not the only one.
Now, you may recognize the name Digital Extremes. Renowned for their early work on Unreal Tournament in partnership with Epic Games, they played a pivotal role in shaping the landscape of multiplayer first-person shooters. They were...
Nobody cares for PvP, so they're doing the other thing, fix the story. Yeah, but then you should go back and fix PvP. Nobody cares. The correct statement, Pike, is nobody cares for PvP in its current state, which is lackluster and under-delivering. You can fix it and make it something people care about. But it's a bad look to have it in the game and just completely abandon. Either take it out or do something with it. Just leaving it in, it just makes the game feel half-assed when you've got these parts of the game that feel unfinished, that new players could stumble into. Which, I mean, that's another part that maybe they fixed it now. I hadn't been back to Warframe in a while, but that's another part that took them forever and a day to fix, if they ever did, was the new player experience. I remember trying to get my wife into it back when I was in it, and the tutorial for the game was teaching you things that weren't in the game anymore. And it wasn't teaching you, like, the tutorial for the game was teaching you the game's movement system from when the game launched. And it wasn't teaching you the new movement mechanics from when they updated the game. So the new player experience wasn't matching the experience of the actual game, so she had trouble learning what to do, and she couldn't get into it. And being entirely missable isn't the same as being removed. There's another new tutorial. Okay, as long as the new player experience properly like introduces new players to the game. And I'll have to like go through with a new account just to get that experience to see if it's sufficient. But that's a problem most live service has. I'm not going to stick that to Warframe. The new player experience in Destiny is atrocious, especially after they removed the base story content from the game and vaulted, because Destiny started vaulting content. So when you log into the game now, you do a tutorial. It doesn't even teach you everything in the game. And then you skip all of the story and immediately get thrown in not knowing what's going on. And there's no way to get that old content or to see it other than to go to YouTube and watch a video on it and get caught up. So, like, there is no new player experience to speak of in Destiny 2 whatsoever right now. Like, it is so confusing and so overwhelming to come out of the tutorial in Destiny 2. So you're basically going from the beginning of Destiny's 2 lifespan in that tutorial, because it's still using the tutorial from launch, and then immediately into current day Destiny without knowing anything that happened in between, without getting any of the gear in between, without getting any of the lore, without getting any of the gameplay mechanics that were added, without getting any of that. They just drop you into it. It's a terrible new player experience. I mean, terrible. Destiny's all but dead now anyway. Yeah, well, that's debatable. Hold on. We'll look that up real quick, actually. Let's go with...
I mean, when you're charging $50 an update, I'd be surprised.
It's been working for them their entire lifespan, though. It's not like they did something different.
Never really all that popular.
Yeah. Oh. Destiny's very similar to Warframe in that regard, where it just has a rabidly dedicated fan base. So within the last, I don't know, it's been somewhat consistent of about 100,000 players. 150, 100, 150, 100. Yeah, it seems to fluctuate between 100 and 150. Had a big peak in June when they launched the latest DLC, where the player numbers doubled to over 300,000. And this is just on Steam. Yeah, so it grew double in size in June, and people played it for a month. So that means, a bunch of people bought it. Bought that new $50 expansion, played it, and then didn't go back to the game. Which is what a lot of players do. They play it for the story, they buy the story expansions, they play them like a single-player game, and then they log out and don't come back. And then there's those that just grind it forever and don't stop. And those are probably the 100, 150 that it keeps fluctuating between here. So, no, it's literally dead. Bungie killed D3 and neutered their update team in the past month. Bungie didn't, Sony did. And Sony has plans for it. I promise you it's not dead. Something's coming from this. I promise you it's not dead, because Sony, God damn it, because Sony didn't. Yeah, they're doing something with this IP. I promise you. Sony did not buy Bungie to kill its only IP right now. That's not going to happen.
Over there now, so
that's not going to happen.
He's going to release their best IP over.
What's happening right now is they're just letting things on autopilot while they restructure. What you're seeing is corporate restructuring. That's what you're seeing. A bunch of people are going to get fired. A bunch of new people and new teams are going to get brought on board, and they're going to correct course on the ship, so to speak. Yeah, that's. This isn't an uncommon business practice for, the corporate landscape. Just bring in a new boss, can everybody on the team that was failing, and bring in a whole new team, and then try to salvage what's left or make something new. But they're going to use this IP. Destiny as a brand, as an IP, is not dead. There is no way. There's just no way Sony spent that much money to kill that. They literally bought Bungie for Destiny.
Unless
Among
they
the
just
first to
believe in their
popularize key
multiplayer
features like
PvP
online
capabilities.
multiplayer, power weapons, team deathmatch, and capture the flag, laying the ground for many of the multiplayer games that we play today. After parting ways with Epic Games, as Epic went on to make Gears of War with Xbox Studios, they decided to pitch their own game idea, and they tried to do it for over a decade. That game was called Dark Sector. They struggled to find a
Dark
publisher
Sector
for
got
this
made.
dark sci-fi MMO concept that they had, and ultimately Digital Extremes was forced into doing work
Yeah,
for
but not like
hire
that.
just to be able to keep the company afloat.
Hold on, Dark Sector got made, didn't it? I feel like that game came out.
Yeah, that weird Warframe looking thing apparently was an early prototype for Dark Sector.
Yeah, Dark Sector. They made that game. That game did get made. He's acting like that game didn't get made. That game did get made. I played that game. I remember having that game. You can buy it right now on Steam for $10. Full of let's see, we'll read some of the reviews on it. Full of bugs, just like Warframe. Love seeing the roots of Warframe here. Yes, it's all. Yeah, all the positive reviews are Warframe fans talking about the origins of Warframe, basically. But I remember playing that back in the day. We'll see. Hopefully you're wrong. I mean, I think you're wrong. Sony bought them for Destiny. Sony definitely didn't buy them because they had a bunch of faith in Marathon. I'm not even sure if that game's actually going to be any good or if it's like how much work they're actually putting into that. Sony saw a successful live service after Sony failed to establish a live service of their own. They gave up trying to make their own and they just bought one. They want Bungie for their live service capabilities because Sony knows that Bungie can maintain a live service. They've done it for 10 years now. So
the decision to take on work-for-hire projects while necessary for financial stability came with its own difficulties. The studio faced a cycle of hiring employees for specific projects and then laying them off once that project concluded. This practice is commonplace for work-for-hire studios.
Do they work on The Darkness?
It disrupted the lives of their employees and their families, a situation that the studio founder has regretted.
So I liked
since
both
then.
of those games too.
He believed that publishers often lacked a clear vision, and that Digital Extremes would have been better off just
Yeah, 'cause this
focusing on
isn't Dark
smaller,
Sector, this is
self-controlled
Darkness.
projects, as seen with independent studios that tend to produce higher
He's showing
quality
footage
work
of.
when they're given full creative control.
Good games though.
Despite the continuous efforts to pitch Dark Sector to publishers, the studio continued to face rejection, primarily due to a lack of interest when it came to sci-fi games on the side of publishers, a sentiment that somehow never even changed even with the success of Halo. In a desperate move, Digital Extremes caved to a publisher's demands, shifting Dark Sector from a sci-fi MMO to a game that emulated the success of Resident Evil 4 at the time.
Yeah,
This
I mean, it
change
wasn't a
involved
bad game.
transforming the protagonist from a space ninja to a CIA operative named Hayden Tenno, which strayed very far from the original concept. The new version of Dark Sector struggled to be able to find an audience. However, it eventually did and gained respectable reviews as well.
Yeah, it did okay.
After the release of Dark Sector, the industry
I
started
remember
to
it.
trend away from AA releases to AAA games, and this made for more issues at Digital Extremes. The studio, which had previously worked on BioShock's multiplayer and The Darkness 2, found itself
Okay, so he's
struggling
going over
to
like the
find
whole
any
lore of the
contracts
company here.
as
I
they
thought he was
began
just going to talk
dry
about
up and
Warframe.
Publishers wanted to start making games in-house. Observing the success of free-to-play games like World of Tanks in 2010, Digital Extremes saw an opportunity in an emerging market. They didn't see free-to-play as a way to be able to milk players. They recognized and saw the potential to be able to create something smaller and grow the game over time rather than trying to pursue a traditional release. Facing imminent financial collapse with only 12 months of funds remaining, Digital Extremes decided to pursue a long-held vision for what used to be Dark Sector, and then was now codenamed Lotus. Within 2 months, they developed a working demo featuring spaceship raids and procedurally generated loot and layouts with an emphasis on co-op and PvE gameplay.
I feel like the
recognizing there was a
procedurally
gap in the market. They
generated part
approached
isn't that
free-to-play
obvious in this
publishers
game.
asking for support, but they were getting rejected yet again. Undeterred, Digital Extremes
they did a
decided
good
to
job.
self-fund
Used
the
to be way
project
worse.
with only 9 months of funds remaining,
They've made it.
wanting
made
to
it
give
work.
it their
Doesn't
all
feel
rather
that
than
bad.
simply just walk away.
There's no like dead ends
The development
anymore.
of the alpha
There's no-
version of
Yeah, I
the game
remember.
saw
I was
significant
talking about when the game
involvement
first
from
came out.
Rebecca
Yeah, I
Ford,
remember
an
that being a
intern who
problem.
led the creation of their community team. This team was crucial in gathering and responding to player feedback, a strategy that helped shape the game's development and ultimately its success. Embracing the success of Kickstarter campaigns that were going on at the time, Digital Extremes introduced supporter packs to raise additional funds. This approach, while initially slow, proved ultimately effective and demonstrated that there was an audience for their game. Thus, Warframe was born, a game over a decade in the making, who had faith in itself. Scorned by an industry, nobody else wanted to make it except for them. It released into beta on Steam in 2013
I mean,
to over 20,000 players.
I heard they fixed the
It's
story.
only
I haven't been
continued
back
to
to it in a
grow
while,
since.
but I remember the story
Over the
being
years,
mostly
I've come to
nonsense.
realize that the
I
vast
can't even
majority of the
remember half of
studios
it and what went on
we
with it.
grew up loving,
I'd
the
have to
games
start
that
a new
we grew
character
up
and get the
loving,
new
the
player
biggest
experience to
studios
see
and publishers that are out
if
there,
it's more
all
I'm down if
cohesive
you wanna-
now.
very similar, humble
I'm
beginnings.
thinking about it.
But the vast majority of them forgot about it.
We can
And
all
the
do it
ones
with
that
Sassy
don't
too.
end
I'm
up being
down.
the ones that are the most loved and appreciated.
I would like to, when I
Look at
reach
Larian
about
Studios.
mastery rank
Their story
5
is
or
almost
complete the entire
identical
story,
to
just go
Digital
back to my
Extremes.
main. But
They started off making their own games to limited success. They did work for hire for a while just to be able to keep the doors open. When that industry started to dry up and move away, they went to go make their own game in Divinity Original Sin. They danced with bankruptcy, almost losing the entire studio.
Yeah, that's the
But they
story of
found
a
an
lot of
audience that
studios.
wanted to support it, and now look at them. Baldur's Gate 3 is heralded as one of the greatest games of all time. They blew up, as they deserve to do so. When I look around the industry right now, I see a lot of studios that
Yeah,
are
but
making-
Baldur's Gate 3 blew up by not doing what Warframe's doing. Warframe saw a trend, an emerging market, and decided to jump on it. Baldur's Gate 3 focused on just being a good game. It didn't follow any trends. It did the opposite of what the market's doing. They stuck with what they knew. I don't mind their idea of like a live service game being a thing that starts small and you build over time. But the problem with that idea is it's one of those ideas that's good on paper but hard to actually accomplish without doing something exploitative in your game to keep cash flow coming. It's the same idea that went into the early access business model. Oh, well, we'll fund the game while it's being developed, and then, it'll make for a better game. How many of those ended well? It's a good idea on paper, but in practice, it's a lot harder to maintain than it sounds, and a lot of those games end up dying, or you end up having to go, okay, well, we're going to put some stuff in the game we didn't originally want to put in because we need money, which I feel like is what happened to Warframe. I feel like in the beginning, as many monetization systems as it has now weren't originally in the game, and that they kept adding monetization systems as the game grew or as they needed money. Like battle passes weren't originally there. I'm not even sure if
you
the
don't pick the battle pass.
like I don't even know if the wait timers are originally there. If you're talking about like early Warframe, I don't know. I can't remember.
making games, not
We'll keep
because they
going.
want to make them, but because they're profit motivated. Purely profit motivated. They no longer look at players as anything other than tools for making money, and that's it. Rather than looking at them for what they actually are, which is a means to be able to deliver a higher quality product, use their feedback and their information to be able to earn their money, and then by
The later
extension,
stories fix, I would
make your
consider
game
the
even
early
that more
story or the
popular.
beginning and the rebuilding
Because when
phase. I
players
feel
are
like it's been in
happy,
that
they get
phase
to
for a
talk
while.
about it a heck of a lot more. And I've also noticed that, games are a form of art, and without soul, there is no art. And in the case of games, I think a lot of players are starting to wake up and realize they can see it in your trailers, they can see it in your gameplay, they can see it when the soul isn't there. And when they know it's there and they see it's there, they're into that game. But when they don't see it, they don't.
I have to ask what he means when he says a lot of players are starting to realize that. Because the numbers don't support that statement. I know it feels that way when you see the reaction online to bad trailers and stuff. But, like, if you need proof that that's not, that doesn't mean people are waking up. It just means that the online voices are screaming louder. But the vast majority of gamers, people who play video games, the vast majority don't go on Reddit. They don't comment in YouTube comment sections. They don't post on Twitter. Most of them don't even follow gaming news that well. Like, they may watch, like I have a friend who would be a perfect example of this. He's probably I got him to come on stream once. I'm trying to get him to come to again so people can actually so I can talk to him and ask him some questions, and you guys can see the casual gamer mindset, because he is like the embodiment of that. He goes to work, He's raising a kid. He comes home and he plays video games. The only video game news or video game interaction he gets is directly on his Xbox. The only reason he would have seen a game trailer or a game showcase, like the Xbox showcase, is because it was on his Xbox dashboard for him to click on. He does not look them up on the internet. He does not look them up on his phone. He does not interact with it. If it's not a review directly on the Xbox store page or something he can click on directly on his Xbox home screen, he doesn't know about it, nor does he care. And I feel like he represents the vast majority of people paying for video games in the year 2024. And he can't look at a trailer and tell if that game's purely profit-based, like this guy's saying, and there to exploit him of his money, or if it's, a game built with passion and has a soul. All he knows is this game looks like this and I'm interested in it. That's it. I feel like that's most gamers. It's not most gamers we interact with on this stream, but most gamers don't watch live streams. Your average everyday casual gamer isn't on Twitch. They're not on Kick. They're probably not even looking up videos on YouTube. Most of them are him. He represents the vast majority. And they're the ones who make up the bulk of the money being spent on video games today. That's why so many companies grasp for that market. But continue.
Want to have anything to do with it. And I think that's why we've seen a lot of games over the last few years fail.
I mean, yeah, Madden's a great example. No matter how many videos come out, Madden and NBA. He plays NBA.
Oh,
but I mean,
I have to ask.
But he's
what's his skin color?
Yeah, he's a black dude.
I know.
But
yeah, oh my god.
But yeah, they make up. But they represent that. But he represents the average casual gamer.
He feels stereotype. It's so bad.
I am going to take this moment to remind you that stereotypes exist for a reason. It's a stereotype because it's mostly true. Most stereotypes are kind of true. Most. I mean, there are some that are exaggerated and meant to insult, but there are stereotypes that are, they're memes and they're funny, but they're also kind of true, and that's what makes them funny. Stereotypes do exist for a reason. And he's that stereotypical casual gamer. It's a genre of people. 2K and Call of Duty. I mean, 2K, Call of Duty, Madden. There's all the mainstream games. Like, you can point at any mainstream game. It doesn't have to be Madden. It doesn't have to be NBA. It doesn't have to be Call of Duty. Like, point at any mainstream game that's been around for decades. And they've been around that long for a reason. They know how to grasp the casual market. And they're great examples because no matter how many YouTube videos you see or how much bad press NBA gets for including actual slot machines or including all this stuff that discuss gamers that got the reaction that Wolf Waffle just gave, he's never going to fucking see it. So it affects him zero. He's going to buy that game every year because it's a game he enjoys. And that stuff doesn't bother them the way it bothers us. It just doesn't. They don't think about it. And these companies...
All you're telling me is that they're bad consumers.
They're the average consumer.
Research their product. They don't look at what they like
anywhere else. They're not bad consumers unless they're engaging in the bad mechanics. If they're engaging in the slot machines and all the other bullshit in the game, if they're doing what now, to his credit, to my friend's credit, he doesn't buy, the fucking Ultimate Team packs, card packs in the game. He doesn't buy, tokens for the slot machine or whatever other bullshit NBA's got. He just buys the game.
Yes, sir, Pike. 100%. I have literally stopped talking to my stepbrother. Spent years of my life talking to this man, and I just cut him off because he plays that dog shit. I can't.
I can't. I'm not going to go that extreme as in I'm going to cut a person out of my life because they play a video game I don't like. That seems a little extreme to me. That seems a little wild. I've known this guy for like 15 years. I'm not cutting him out of my life. I'm just not going to play that game with him. I'm not going to, and I'll give him shit if I catch him buying fucking card packs for players or buying fucking pulls on a slot machine. But he doesn't do that. He just buys the game and he plays the game rather casually, I might add. He doesn't play online for the most part. I think he might do a couple of matches on, but most of the time he just buys the game. He plays the game at home with friends. He enjoys the game and then he turns it off. He's just a casual gamer. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. The people who are the problem, the people who are bad consumers, as Waffle called them, the people who are the problem are the people who get addicted to the monetization mechanics in the game that they keep throwing in these games to exploit those people. And there are those people. Those people probably have gambling addictions too, and if they don't, they'll get one by the time they're done with these games. There's people with no impulse control who can't help but buy this shit because they're impatient or because they have money to burn. I'd say your average casual gamer doesn't do that. That is a certain sector of casual gamer that does that. That's not the main. The main casual gamer is someone like my friend who just buys a game and plays a game the same way we would have done back in the 90s. I bought the game, I'm going to play the game, and I'm not buying anything else for the game.
I wanna say this. I really would like Apex to release their fucking stats of how many people have paid money for at least one or have bought at least $50 worth of Apex stuff. Like every single account that has purchased over $50 worth of packs, worth of crap, and that's low.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of low for Apex.
I've spent zero money in Apex, but I know I'm not the norm for that game's fan base.
I'm not gonna lie, I've copped a battle pass.
I haven't. None of those battle passes, in my opinion, have been worth buying.
I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna get it." I beat the damn battle pass.
I was done with that game after I saw the atrocious way they were monetizing the Final Fantasy crossover. That was so insulting. I can't even bring myself to hit the install button on that game anymore.
I realized it wasn't just like a once in a while thing, and it was a consistent happening of like that happens over and over and over and over, and that's their main like hype event. I was done. I was like, okay, this was fine when I saw a couple of them happen, but now this is happening like once every 2 months. This is getting this is a lot.
Yeah. The thing, Pike, is they are voting with their wallet, but they're kind of segmented. Like, you got to pick your battles. So when I tell people to vote with their wallet and that you do have some market control, I am not talking about the sports gaming market. We have lost that. That is beyond saving. The crowd of people who play sports games in general are unreachable. And they are creatures of habit, and they're going to continue doing what they're doing. They are trapped. They are of a different mindset. So let them have that. The live service market is hit or miss. There's a lot of people trapped in that mentality, depending on the live service game. Some of them are highly exploitative. Some of them are Fortnite and cosmetic only, with no loot boxes. So it depends on the game and the market. You have to pick your battles when it comes to that voting with your wallet stuff. You should absolutely, when you see a game do something right, then you make a statement with your wallet. Everyone who cares about gaming and who cares about the monetization not ruining gaming, whether you intend to play the game or not, absolutely every one of you should own a copy of Baldur's Gate 3. Absolutely every one of you should. Because you're sending the message that those games can be profitable and that that's what people want. That there's a market for that. And then more of those games will get made. Can you save the entire industry like that? No. But you can shave you can save like one genre at a time. As long as there's a corner of the gaming market for all this exploitative crap to go, then you don't have to, and it can be profitable over here, then hopefully over here, where the stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 is, will stay nice and pure, and that's where we'll do our buying. Like, that's all you can hope for. You can't hope to stop it from all gaming. Like, you have to segment it off and go, okay, well, that can go over here. Kind of like we've done with the mobile gaming market, where we go, okay, that market's unsavable, put all that bullshit over there, just don't put that mobile gaming shit on PC. Well, yeah, like most people have that line. Most people understand that line of, okay, that's a mobile game. That's mobile game bullshit. The dangerous thing is when mobile games, and this is starting to happen more and more, is when mobile games creep their way onto Steam and the Epic Games Store and even console, masquerading as regular video games. I'm looking at you, Genshin Impact. That is a mobile game ported to PC and console and pretending to be a full-fledged game. It's not a full-fledged regular video game. It's a mobile game. And all its mobile game bullshit came over to console with it. Same thing with Honkai Star Rail, and what's the newest one that's out? There's another one by that same company that's doing the same thing. Yeah, they are just starting to port all their mobile games over. There's Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail. I could probably pull up Twitch, and that's the problem, is they pay streamers to play it too, so it looks more popular than it is, and they have the whole fake it till they make it mentality. So if I pull up Twitch, it's probably on the front page of Twitch right now, the game I'm thinking about. Fuck, it starts with an L? What is it? Oh, what the fuck is it? It's gonna bother me until I look it up now. Alright, back to Twitch. Leave my dashboard for a second. We'll go to... Oh my god, Twitch, please. Don't autoplay videos. It's fucking aggravating. That's what... Oh, what is it? What is it? It's gonna bother me until I find it. No... Oh, is the Delta Force beta out? Damn it, I meant to play that.
Fuck is that?
It's an old shooter from the 90s that's getting a remake that I want to check out. Oh, Lost Ark is another one. It may not be a mobile game port, but it felt like a mobile game to me when I played it. But that's not the one I'm talking about. Maybe it's no longer in like the top anymore. Maybe it actually... There's Honkai Star Rail. There's Genshin Impact. It's another one by that same company. Zenless Zone Zero. There we go. You said it. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm surprised that's not higher up on the list, actually. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Zenless Zone Zero. Oh, it's still got over 1,000 viewers. It's still up there. It's not as high as it was before, though. So, but yeah, that's another one that is a straight-up mobile game just ported to PC. Register for Delta Force on Steam. I've been in the test for like 4 days. Didn't I do that already? I feel like I did that. Hold on, let me pull up Steam. Let me pull up Steam. Where's my Steam?
Microsoft might buy Mortal Kombat.
Well, hopefully they can fix its terrible monetization. That's another game that...
Oh, they probably won't. They'll probably just fucking...
Alright, Delta Force... God, I remember playing Delta Force back in the fucking day. Hawk Ops? Wait, is this a remake of Black... Yeah, this is the remake of Black Hawk Down, isn't it? 25 years later, they're remaking a game? No, I didn't request access. How did I miss this? You've requested access. Wait for notification. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wanted that. It's Battlefield X Call of Duty, by the way. I mean, Delta Force is the game that inspired Battlefield. You're talking about a game that came out pre-Battlefield. This is a 90s shooter that later inspired Battlefield. And maybe even Call of Duty. So, I don't know. But
Digital Extremes started out with great intentions, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that they didn't make the same mistakes that many other free-to-play...
Okay, here we go. Tell me the mistakes they made. Let's see if he's... Let's see if I agree with
its monetization. But the difference is they learned from their mistakes.
Did they?
I don't think anybody can
let's hear
disagree
it.
with this. Recently, over the last few years, both live service and free-to-play games have permeated through every space in the entire gaming industry. Every single company wants their Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Genshin Impact, whatever it might be, and of course they would, because
Not
they draw
every
revenues
single
that
company.
make you wonder why anybody would ever want to make another.
To their
free-to-play
credit,
game again.
Nintendo is actively
But with
avoiding
the
it.
introduction of free-to-play live service games, we've seen year over year, month over month, players are losing ground, losing choice, and losing their money. Free-to-play has become synonymous with cutting content and player achievement and putting a price tag on it. While the gameplay itself is free, the model has incentivized developers to paywall everything in the game or put in absurd time restrictions and hurdles for players to be able to overcome just so they can try to earn anything with their own time or their own skill.
You just described
Studios today are
Warframe's wait
incentivized
timers.
to actively harm the player experience and lower the quality of the overall product, all in the name of higher profits. Digital Extremes was incredibly nervous about getting into free-to-play because they were afraid that they were going to do it wrong, and in fact, they did. At first, they started selling power, and it wasn't the reputation that they wanted to create for themselves. At the creation of Warframe, you could double...
I'm going to see if he goes back to that, by the way. That thing he just said about them arbitrarily wasting your time to encourage you to pay to get to the thing faster, he just literally described Warframe's wait timers. That is the only thing those are designed to do in the game, is to arbitrarily put a wall in front of you and make you wait in hopes that you'll get impatient and pay. It is the only purpose they serve. They are 100% profit driven. There is no other way to interpret that. If you're a Warframe fan and you're excusing the wait timer mechanic of being 3 days long on Warframes,
I think anything over 10 minutes is insane.
yeah, if you're excusing the wait timers, then you're in full-fledged fucking cope mode. Those were absolutely put in the game as a way to paywall you into continuing to play or waste your time while you wait. But you don't want to wait. You want to get the reward so you can keep playing. It's exactly the thing that he just described. So if he doesn't circle back to this and point at Warframe's wait timers as an example of that, then he's being disingenuous. It's that simple.
the capacity of your mod or
I mean, I'm
skill
glad
tree
they're not
slots in
selling...
your Warframe.
Wait. Hold on. Before he explains this, 'cause he's saying they were straight up selling power in the beginning. How are they not doing that now? You can buy Warframes. You can buy guns. You can, thanks to the player economy they hide behind as their excuse to, well, we don't sell it, the players do. Yeah, but you gave them the ability to. So you can straight up buy power from other players with Platinum. All of that's still here. So I'm expecting him to explain, now, I didn't play Warframe when this menu was in the game. I wasn't that early to the train, but maybe it's less egregious now, but it doesn't mean it's not still there. So I want to hear how he complains early Warframe to now.
There was no way to be able to earn this in game, and the only way that you could get it was by paying for it with real money. Early
So
on,
no way to
before the
earn it
game's
in
beta
game.
release,
Then they made
Digital
it
Extremes saw the
earnable.
players'
Gotcha.
feedback regarding this issue and removed it and any other perceived pay-for-power microtransactions, vowing for fair monetization to be a core tenet of the studio moving forward.
Well, they didn't remove
In
any
that
way
move,
to pay for
and other
power because
changes
you
that
can
they
still buy
made
guns in
due to their
Warframe.
deep involvement in the early foundations of their game's community, they fostered a positive community spirit and gained even more support. In an interview 6 years ago with Danny O'Dwyer of No Clip Documentaries, they mentioned how different.
Well, I'm gonna stop there with the pay while I'm thinking about it with the pay for power thing and the cope that all Warframe players point to when I remind them that you can buy Warframes, you can buy guns, you can pay for power, you can buy
I promise.
What's that?
I've seen the video. Just keep going. I promise it'll be very shortly.
Okay.
Difficult it was for them to be able to find any marketing.
You'll see his
or
reasoning.
visibility
So
because at the time, nobody wanted to touch free-to-play.
I'm not
games.
saying it's
However,
a
the
good
positive
reason, but
community
it's
that
a
they had
reason.
already started to culture, the fact that they had been listening to their community ended up catching the attention of the late great commentator Total Biscuit, who came to cover the game and catapult its popularity into the mainstream. I think that this
Rip
is one of
Total
the
Biscuit.
most valuable lessons for digital extremes or any company to learn, and it's that good things happen to good developers, especially those who treat their players as well as
think I
digital
watched one
extremes
video of his
and
before he
listens to
died.
their feedback. Game developers, large and small, need to recognize that they are providing a product and service to us, not the other way around. The expectation is on
I'll agree with
them
that.
to create a fun, fair, entertaining, and valuable experience
I'll
in
agree with that.
exchange for our money.
Yep.
When I see game developers posting on Reddit talking about how they hate gamers because of YouTube live stream comments, or how a lead Starfield developer makes a Twitter thread saying, funny how disconnected some players are from the realities of game development, and yet they speak with complete authority. I mean, I can guess what it takes to make a Hostess Twinkie, but I don't work in the factory, so what the hell do I know, really? Not a lot.
I mean,
Neither
that's
of these opinions that these people have.
a
are in the
disconnected comment in
minority
itself. I get the
opinions.
irony.
With what authority do players speak? With their money. They are your paying customers. Paying customers. While players may not know exactly how to voice their concerns, and oftentimes will do it in the wrong way, you still should be listening to them because they are telling you that something is wrong with your game, and at the end of the day, all they want is a better product, which only serves to make you more money in the end. We've seen developers stray from the side.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, and I'm going to use Diablo as an example. Diablo listened to players for 10 years during Diablo 3 about how much they wanted that game to be, that it wasn't what they wanted. They missed Diablo 2. They missed Diablo 2. They missed Diablo 2. They want the next one to be like Diablo 2. When Diablo 4 launched, it was very close to the Diablo 2 experience. Right down to the pacing and it being a grind, all of it. Slower, wasn't a power fantasy, none of that. Everybody hated it. And then they slowly turned it back into Diablo 3. So, to play devil's advocate, yeah, you'll get a lot of those. They are your paying customers. And they'll tell you what they want. The problem is when your audience gets so big, you quickly learn that the audience doesn't know what it wants most of the time. That there's a section of your audience that wants this, and then there's a section of your audience that wants this, and there's a section of your audience that wants this, and how do you listen to all those voices at once and make a game that makes them all happy? You kind of can't. You just gotta, at that point, you have to stick with your vision and hope they latch
I feel
onto
like
it.
Warframe has done that in a way. Like, I feel like it's the same thing with PvP. The reason I don't think they've removed it is because there was a want by the developers to do something.
Well, I mean, I'm not pointing
they
at.
eventually have to go, okay, hey, we gotta make the vision and not just make it split.
I mean, I have the things that I want for Warframe. I'm not talking about Warframe specifically here either. I'm talking about just developers as a whole, because he was talking about a Starfield dev. Like, the Call of Duty devs are another great example, is every Call of Duty game that comes out is the worst Call of Duty game ever, and everybody wants something different. And then when they pivot and try to give them what they want with the next game, same story happens. This is the worst Call of Duty game ever. You should go back to this. And then they go back to that thing, and then, oh, this is the worst Call of Duty ever game. It's the same story every time. Every time.
Because they fucking made an entire game franchise around 3 developers releasing whatever the fuck they wanted with no connection between them.
Well, no, I mean that even happens with games that have had the same dev team for the whole time. The problem isn't the number of developers. The problem is when your audience is that fucking big, it is just statistically impossible to get them all on the same page. It's just not going to happen. All of them are going to like it for different reasons. Even if you're talking about, like, Destiny. You know, like, that game has had stuff that everyone's liked and everyone's hated and everyone's liked and everyone's hated, and it's gone back and forth for the last 10 years with the same devs and the same audience. They take stuff away, they put stuff back in, they take stuff away, they put stuff back in. Diablo is another good example. You know, this happens when your audience reaches a certain level. Just the more people you have, the more voices you have to listen to, the more opinions you're going to get. And getting all those opinions in line is just, it's statistically impossible once you reach a certain level. So once you...
when you're constantly releasing multiple games that feel slightly different. Yes, they have a very similar like idea. They're set in different times. They're set in different fucking like eras. You know, there's so much different about them. Of course, your player base is already going to be divided. I'm not saying that the big audience doesn't affect that, but to say that that isn't a part of it as well,
like another I mean, sure, it's a part of it. Like, I'm not saying that's not a part of it, but that's not the reason. The reason is really the size of the crowd, because you can do 3 different sets of games all in the same franchise by 3 different devs and make it work. And clearly Call of Duty has. You're just always going to get those complaints, because you're never going to get that entire audience on the same page. Like, another good example of a game that's been around just as long, has just as big of an audience, and has mostly stuck with the same dev team is World of fucking Warcraft. That audience is never fucking happy. To the point that they've even made World of Warcraft 2 separate games. There's World of Warcraft and World of Warcraft Classic, and they still complain. People, like, once your audience is just that big, the complainers are going to complain, and there's going to be more of them. And the more of them there are, the louder they're going to sound. So you can't always just listen to the biggest voice in your crowd. You have to learn to gauge your audience as a whole. And, like, I've had my problems with Warframe that are never going to be addressed because I'm not part of that big voice. It's the same way in Call of Duty, and it was the same way in Destiny. I tend to want things that the mainstream doesn't, and I never get what I want because I'm not part of that big crowd, even though I do think the games would be better with that stuff in it. I'm always voicing the stuff that I want and that I think would make the game better, and I try to even recommend it in a way that wouldn't affect the stuff that's already there. Like adding what I want as a separate game mode and keeping the other stuff in the game too. But I don't ever get that. Call of Duty is also cursed by nostalgia and the golden age. Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing that happened with World of Warcraft. That's why they made World of Warcraft Classic, to try to appease those nostalgia guys. And even they're still not happy. So, you know. There's
a lot of reasons why that game has so many fucking differing opinions within its community.
I mean, it's a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason is just the size of your crowd. The bigger your crowd gets, the harder it's going to be to keep them all on the same page. Especially because they all like your game for different reasons. They all came to your game at different times. They all had different experiences. You know, like, the older a franchise gets and the bigger its crowd gets, the harder it's going to be to please. That's just how this works. And that's how this works with everything, not just video games. Movie franchises are the same way. Also, I quote, "Democracy is government by the people, for the people, of the people. But the people are retarded." This is true. This is true.
However, how many developers have you seen remove a microtransaction from their game because players were using it too much? When Warframe introduced colors for their pet skins, they didn't realize that they had inadvertently created a gambling mechanic where players were trying to search for the rarest skin colors and the combinations that they wanted. DE saw that a player had rolled his pet's color 200 times and their stomach sank.
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that. I'm going to go conspiracy brain for a minute. I believe Warframe knows exactly what it's doing when it does shit like this. I believe it knows that people are going to spend buku amounts of money. And I believe they know that they can make that money for X amount of time and then remove it and also get praised for making the money. I believe they've found a way to have their cake and eat it too. They can exploit their audience for a limited time, make a bunch of money, remove it because of feedback, and get praise from that same audience. So they can do the bad thing, make the money, and also get praised for removing the bad thing. They can have it both ways. And they've been pretty good at that. I forgot about this until he mentioned it. There's no way you added a mechanic to the game where you're buying colors and skins on a random roll and didn't think people would just continue to pump money in it until they get the roll they want. If you wanted people to just buy a skin and have a skin, you'd sell the skins individually. There's absolutely no reason you would introduce them with a gambling mechanic if you didn't think you could make money off that off that mechanic. There's just no other reason. I believe that's exactly what they did. They knew loot boxes were big, but putting loot boxes in your game would get you bad press. They found a way to put them in without them actually being loot boxes. They are loot boxes. They were random rolls. You're buying a random color, and you keep pumping the money in until you get the color you want. They milk that money for as long as they can until the complaints become overwhelming, and then they go, we hear your feedback, we're taking those out, and everybody gives them a pat on the back. Meanwhile, they get to walk away with a fat stack of cash and then still sell the skins individually. Maybe I'm being too cynical, but that seems insanely obvious to me.
Or maybe they just had the pets roll with random colors.
Yeah, but the minute you tie monetization to a random roll, you have to know that that's going to happen. This inadvertent thing makes them sound incompetent. Like that's.
I think it was speed up mechanic. I think it was them spending on this like the instant grow up because like you couldn't get the colors any other way. You had to just roll your pet and get the colors. So people were just spamming the instant completion.
Right, paying to skip the wait timer.
Like it was a loot box.
Right, paying to skip the wait timer. Which inadvertently created a loot box. But I would argue again that wouldn't be a problem that could prop up at all if you didn't arbitrarily introduce wait timers intended to make people pay to skip them.
I don't know why people defend it. It's like we could get them either drastically reduced.
This is just because if that's the case, and this was all inadvertent, then you just gave the number one reason why the wait timers shouldn't fucking be there. Because they accidentally created a loot box in the game. Like they've offered nothing good gameplay wise and only bad things monetization wise, including loot boxes now. They accidentally created loot boxes because of their stupid fucking wait timers. There's zero reason those should be in the game. You're not changing my mind on that one.
Within a day and a half, they removed
I'm not
the
trying
mechanic
to.
from the game.
I'm just saying
I don't know
he's.
who the
player
fuck would be.
feedback.
They're fucking stupid.
The spirit of that can be found.
I'm just
throughout the
seeing
entire
if
game. As
this
of a
guy
recent
will,
update,
is what I'm saying.
Now everything in the game, just about everything in the game, is earnable in game with very few outliers. Warframe uses platinum as its in-game premium currency, and it's fully tradable. Players can go out, farm valuable resources, mods, weapons, and Warframe blueprints, and then trade with other players without ever even spending a dime. You would think that this is trapped behind some type of end game progression or something, right? No, you can start doing this within the first 15 to 20 hours of playing the game. I was already trading items with other players and stockpiling currency from the minute that I had started.
That's another problem I have, is the absolute fucking defense. Like he's championing right now, because I'm going to tell you what he's describing. I'm going to tell you what Warframe's trading for platinum really is. And why Warframe got away with it is beyond me. But what he's describing of I farmed for an item, I got the item I wanted, and I sold it to a player for platinum. What is platinum? Platinum's real money. It's a currency you can only obtain with real money. I know you can trade with other players to get it, but that currency that got traded to you came from somebody's wallet. Somebody bought it somewhere down that line. It wasn't injected into the game for free. Somebody had to pay for it. It didn't come from nowhere.
Most of it.
There's
probably a few 100,000 from like giveaways or something.
Yeah, probably. But the vast majority, I'm talking on the whole, somebody bought, some whale out there bought a bunch of platinum and is using it for trades because he wants to buy power in the game, but the game doesn't let him buy power. So he buys it from other players with platinum. what that system is, what he just fucking described, that's Diablo 3's real money auction house. A system everyone hated out of existence.
I didn't get why so many people hated it though. You didn't have to engage with it. I'm like, it just don't engage.
Because it removes engagement because it becomes the thing everyone does, and it is pay to win because it's pay to win. Because it's literally paying to not play the game. In a loot-based game like Diablo and like Warframe, the grind for the loot is 90% of the game. If you can log in the case of Diablo 3, you could log in, have someone power level you to the max level in 20 minutes, and then jump on the real money auction house and buy a perfect rolled set of fully fledged gear. You've just skipped 90% of the game to become the most powerful person in the game.
Yeah, and the person who actually played the game made a profit. I see no problem here.
I don't see how you don't see how you don't see a problem with a pay to win mechanic.
Because it's not PvP.
That doesn't matter. Why do I feel like I'm having the same conversation with you I've had with these idiots in my fucking comment section? Pay to win doesn't mean PvP. Pay to win doesn't mean PvP.
Pay to win. I'm just saying I don't care. I think it's fine in PvE experience.
I don't think it's fine ever. I don't think
pay to win.
It is pay to win. And it shouldn't be in any game ever. Pay to win has no place in any game ever. It should not fucking be there. It doesn't matter if it's a single player game or a multiplayer game. I'm going to defer to this. I'm going to use your own argument against you right now with the pay to win thing in single player games and how you said that you don't care, right? Okay. What was your argument against an easy mode in Dark Souls?
I don't know. What did I say back then? Kind of high, Doug.
You said it would ruin the game and that it shouldn't be in there and that if people can't... Because I even gave you the argument. Okay, well, what if they put an easy mode in Dark Souls and putting it in easy mode disabled online play so you can only play solo if you're in easy mode? And you're like, no, it shouldn't be in the game. If they can't... Like, the difficulty is the point of the game. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be playing the game. That same argument applies here. The grind for the loot is the game. And if you're not willing to do that, then why are you playing the game? Stop. These mechanics shouldn't be in here to manipulate other players and to ruin the game. Because that's what they're there for. They're there to manipulate those people who get impatient. They're there
I would change my opinion on Dark Souls.
Because they're there. The whole reason that mechanic would ever be in a single-player game, a pay-to-win mechanic would ever be in a single-player game, the only reason it's there is not to enhance the gameplay, but to nag at the back of your mind that, hey, that option's there, that option. Knowing some people can't resist the urge to get that option. To just, I'm so sick of the grind. It's there to exploit people, and it shouldn't fucking be there. It ruins the experience for them. It ruins the whole point of the game. It's just there to exploit people. And you're never going to get me to defend an exploitative mechanic in a game, even if it only affects one fucking player. I'm not going to do it. That's not going to happen ever. I'm never going to excuse this shit. I'm never going to cope on this shit. It's not going to happen. Maybe it's my age and that I grew up in an era where you bought a game and you got a game. And if you wanted the shit in the game, you had to play the fucking game. And there are many of and I even
as a way to spend money. I'm seeing it as a way to earn money. That is the difference. I'm the person who benefits from this system because I will go in there, grind out relics, and because other people are grinding the relics too, because they want to earn money, you can also steal their drops, which is pretty, it makes it a little easier because even if you get something shit, you got 4 rolls every fucking time.
Yeah, but that's That also changes the way everyone's playing the game now, because now you're not, it's not a game anymore at that point. It's an economy. It's a job now. You're just turning it into a job for people, and they're just there to exploit other people. Now you're using your one section of your player base to exploit another section of your player base. So now they're playing the game completely differently to take advantage of the other people. It affects the entire community and the way everyone in that community is going to engage with the game. You now haven't created a game anymore. You've created something different. It completely kills the experience just on its face.
A digital side hustle.
Yeah, no. Video games, that's not the way a video game should be, a digital side hustle, and I don't want to see more games do that. I don't want that to be what games become. These things where the people who know life it are no life in it to get money from the people who aren't, and now all video games are just make a friend with a lot of money or make a friend with a lot of time because you don't have time to know.
Every game to exist with this? No. I don't think it needs to be in every game, but to say that it can't exist at all in a few places, I don't know.
I
enjoy the grind.
I'm on the same place. I'm on the same place as this goes against. No, I'm on the same place with this as I am with loot boxes. And I think we've all learned our lesson with loot boxes, where if you gave them an inch, when loot boxes first cropped up in video games, everybody had the attitude you have right now, where I think it's okay if it's only in this, this, and this. The problem is that's not the way it's going to work. Is the more popular it gets, the more places it's going to show up, until eventually you have to hate it out of existence, like they did with Battlefront 2, to make it mostly gone, to try to roll back that tide. We got lucky on loot boxes, to be honest. We got lucky that they tried to stick them in a Star Wars game, and the Star Wars fan base is fucking cancer. Like, that's what saved us. It wasn't gamers. It was the rabid fucking Star Wars fans.
EA fucking trying to fuck with Star Wars.
Like, if they'd have never put it in a Star Wars game, we'd still be dealing with loot boxes to this day in the majority of live service games. The vast majority would probably still have them. And if this shit caught on, like...
They didn't go away.
They
just went to the market.
This has been tried multiple times, and Warframe's the most successful version of it. And thankfully, Warframe hasn't gone like Call of Duty level mainstream. Otherwise, this shit would be in every game. But yeah, the real money auction house in Diablo has been tried multiple times. It was tried in World of Warcraft at one point. Like, every time it's ever been tried, it's been hated out of existence until this game. People don't want to be constantly thinking about money while they're playing the game.
When it isn't in a game and it's not in a franchise that people, they don't like it because it ruins their franchise. Everybody who has gotten into Warframe has gotten into it with the real money marketplace being an option in the back of their mind.
The truth is, there's nothing wrong with item trading in games. That was in Diablo 2. There's nothing wrong with that. So that, if you want to skip the grind a little bit, you can. Like, lots of games have their own economies within the game, like Diablo 2, where certain items are worth certain amounts, and you have to trade certain numbers of other items or crafting materials to get them. The difference is, once you attach a real money mechanic to them, instead of them just being an in-game thing, well, now people can't play the game without thinking about money. The money now infects everything. The people with money play the game differently, and the people without money play the game differently. No one ends up playing the game the way the game was designed to be played, unless the game was designed to be played as a way to let the no-lifers milk the non-no-lifers for money. And that's not the mentality I think games should be. For what it's worth, I agree with you on the Dark Souls thing. As much as I was arguing for the easy mode, I agree with you. It does change the experience of the game. And that the difficulty of the game is the point. And that if they wanted to make the game easier or more accessible, they should find other ways to do it. I just wanted to hear a good argument. I was playing devil's advocate. I did just want to hear a good argument against an easy mode. And no one's ever really been able to give me one. Other than it ruins the gameplay experience. I grew up, maybe it's my age, but I grew up in a time where you paid for a game and you had to play that game as is. There were no options to pay to skip things. There was no way to skip the grind to get things.
It's the easy mode.
What?
I feel like the multiplayer in those games is the easy mode.
To a point. To a
The
point.
game is way easier with the summons.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's. I'm not
accidentally solve it yourself. That is kind of cringe. I will lie.
I will say it is easier with the summons, but that's not an easy mode. That is different than the game just being easier overall.
At least a hell of a lot more fun.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that. Like, I think they should do more robust things with the multiplayer to encourage that as a way to make it easier than to put in an easy mode. But the point I was making was that maybe it's because I'm old and I grew up in a time where you paid for a game and you had to play the game the way the game came. There was no way to pay to make it easier, to pay to skip things, to pay to get gear. The game was the game. And there are plenty of games from my childhood that there's things in them I probably will never, whenever. I don't think that the day will ever come where I'll beat fucking Ninja Gaiden. I cannot tell you the frustration, the broken controllers, and the hours I spent on that game as a child. I've heard
tales of that.
Never beat that game. And I will probably never beat that game ever in my life.
Spawning enemy.
Yes, and I will probably never beat that game in my life. I occasionally go back and retry it, but god damn, that game's hard. It makes Dark Souls look like a cakewalk. But I also have zero desire to pay for a version of that game that makes it easier. I feel like I've been cheated from the experience if I do that. I mean, yeah, I can beat the game, but it's a hollow victory. And that's what these games where they focus on money, because that's what the game starts to feel like with a real money economy system in it. It feels like the game is about money. Not just for the devs, but for every player playing it. The game now feels hollow. He's talking about the souls of games in this video. It has a system in it that makes it feel hollow. By design. It's why the Diablo 3 Real Money auction house got hated out of existence. Diablo felt like a shell of its former self. It felt exploitative. It felt bad to play. It hampered the entire experience. Would be like watching your favorite movie. You bought your ticket, go into a movie theater, you've been waiting for this movie to come out. And then you get there, there's a big old shit stain right on the corner of the screen. It's not very big. It's just in the corner of the screen, taking up about 25% of the corner of the movie theater screen. Is this big pile of human shit somebody just threw up there, just like everybody just threw shit at the screen, and it's got shit on it. You can still see the movie. You can still watch it, but that shit's distracting. It's always there in every scene of that movie.
Goofy. That's goofy. That was a goofy ass metaphor.
But it's what it's like.
That's goofy as shit.
You can still see 95% of the movie screen. It's only taking up that little 5% in the corner. You can mostly ignore it, right? But you know it's there. You know that's human shit on the screen right there. Is that how you want to watch a movie? With shit on it? Yeah, that's what it feels like. And when you leave that movie, and you go to tell people about your experience, you can tell them how good the movie is, but you're also going to tell them about the shit. Because it left an impact. You're never going to forget that shit. Just like you're never going to forget the movie, hopefully. And that's what Diablo 3's Real Money Auction House felt like. Felt like I had a beautiful, beautiful cooked steak, this plate of food. It's beautiful from a 5-star restaurant. And right next to my food was a turd. It's not on the food, it's on the plate. It's next to my food. And that makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like a 5-star meal anymore now, does it? Yeah, it's like that.
Players still have the option to buy anything that they want from the game's in-game shop.
All right.
All of those things, or at least the vast majority of them outside of cosmetics and color palettes, can be earned in-game. So, Mr. YouTuber, that means that Warframe must have the most difficult and high-end equipment behind paywalls or something, right? It has to be insanely difficult to get.
Yeah, he's using the argument I thought they would use. It's okay to charge whatever you want or to pay for power as long as you can still earn it in game,
and you
right?
get relics constantly while you're playing the game. When you go to do these missions to crack the relics, you're playing with 4 players, and all 4 of you can choose to use the exact same relic, which would then increase your chances of being able to get what you wanted, because everybody can choose from everyone else's rewards. Meaning that even if you're in a party that isn't coordinated and you're all running different relics, if you don't get what you want out of yours, you can just get a copy of somebody else's thing if it's more valuable. You can choose
I do
to
like
get
that
whatever
mechanic.
you want. Every weapon, every frame, companion, and otherwise is at your fingertips. You can earn your way through Warframe without ever even spending a dime, and many players have. There is no time wasting in Warframe. And what's even
Wait timers are time wasting, sir. Why are we ignoring the wait timers?
He'll bring it up.
Okay, because he just said there is no time wasting in Warframe. That is there specifically to waste your time.
Look, he's gonna make a shitty ass argument.
Okay. I'm anxious for it now.
They show players
It's
how
dog
not
shit.
to
It's
spend
half a
money
sentence,
within
but
their
he makes an
premium
argument.
shop.
Okay.
If you go to their premium shop and look at any of the items available in it, next to every item, it tells you how to go earn that item in-game rather than spending money. They teach players how not to spend money in their shop.
Hold on, point. But there's also the big-ass money icons all over it.
Yes.
So most people click on it wanting to buy it.
Right. The money icon is what showed first. These are all tactics.
And it's the first option. It's not like blueprints for pay.
Yeah, the blueprint's down at the bottom. It's easy to overlook. But it's there. And it's great that it's there. But my problem with this framing that he's doing, which is what all Warframe players do, including Ozzy, is that option to earn it in game doesn't excuse the money up front you can pay to not do that thing. If you give people the option to just pay and not have to do something the hard way, yeah, a lot of them are just going to pick that. Why would most people not pick the instant reward option? You put it there to make money. You didn't put the way to earn it as a option for other players. He's thinking about it backwards. The option to earn it in game isn't the option. The option to buy is the option that was added that shouldn't be there. He is giving you a prime example of how that business model manipulates people. All of them have been manipulated or trained into believing that they're getting an option to not buy something when it's the reverse. You're giving the option to buy something you shouldn't have to buy. It's the same way that the gaming market has convinced and trained and manipulated everybody into believing that when you pre-order a game, you're getting to play it early. It has an early access option if you pre-order. No. If you don't pre-order, you're forced to play it late. You guys are thinking about it backwards. They've mentally trained you to accept these monetization things as normal. You're not being rewarded for spending money. You're being punished for not. That's the way you should think about it, because that's what it is. Free-to-play players are punished for not spending money. And that is exactly what Warframe does to its free-to-play players on a very regular basis with most of its mechanics. You are punished if you don't spend money. You are punished with more farming. You are punished with more tedious tasks. You are punished with the unfun parts of the game. And if you are playing with a group of people who are spending money, you're punished with being left behind. See how that works? You're using players to manipulate other players into spending, not the other way around. Because if you got one guy on your team who's spending money to get all the guns and stuff immediately and not have to grind for crafting materials and craft them, then everybody else has got to pay to keep up with him. He's not going to slow down for you. Even if he's helping you grind, he's already leveling those guns past where you're at. He's always going to be a step ahead of you because he spent money. And that doesn't feel good. Well, I mean, apparently to the Warframe audience it does, but Jesus. I bumped my previous point. Here's a point I think Pirate Software made that should be considered. Can't find a clip. It's a free-to-play PvE game. If you pay for things, then you are actively making a choice to pay and have less game to play. That means you are effectively paying to lose. No, I don't agree with that. The problem is the game is designed to give you less game to play. It's designed to be a less fun game for people who don't pay. You aren't getting more game to play because you don't spend money. You're giving a more tedious version of the game to play. The game is designed around not playing for free. The optimal way to play the game and to get the best experience, to get the fun version of the game, is to pay money. To not pay money is to get a tedious, worse experience. The game is designed to punish you for not playing. So you're not paying to lose. You're paying to get the better version of the game, the better version of the thing, and the better experience overall. You're paying for the better experience. You're winning in that regard. You're getting the better experience by paying. You're not just getting to the end faster, but the road you traveled, that journey to get to the end, is a lot less tedious and less frustrating for someone who paid. You're not frustrated by a wait timer ever if you pay. You're not frustrated by an excessive grind if you pay. You can skip a lot of it. You're getting a more optimal game. The game feels the way it should feel. It's paced better. It feels like a better experience by playing. If you don't pay, you're getting punished for not paying. You now have a more tedious, more frustrating game to play. That's not winning, dude. People who pay aren't losing. I'm not even talking about just the wait timers. I'm talking about the grind. I'm talking about all of it as a total package. I would say that it is the worst experience. Yeah. In the same way that paying to make Dark Souls easier would make the experience worse. It would. It would. Overall, it would make the experience worse. Even for the people who did their first playthrough on easy and then wanted to jump online, they would immediately be slapped in the face with a level of difficulty that makes the game feel broken. You're right. Easy mode in Dark Souls wouldn't be great. There's better ways to design the game to accommodate players who want an easier experience without ruining it for other players who don't, and to still train them to get better at the game so they can handle the harder stuff. It's just bad game design to flip a switch and make something easy, just like it's bad game design to flip a switch and make the game easier with money. It's just bad game design. It's just bad game design. I don't think it is paced optimally with pain, especially now since grind is fast. I mean, maybe not now. I mean, I would argue still that it probably is, because I promise you that these devs are trying to make the optimal experience for the people that pay, because you don't want someone to pay, get an experience so optimal that they get bored with the game and then they stop paying. You You definitely don't want that. I promise you, the paying for the game, not just in Warframe, but in any, pay to win experience, the paying to win is the optimal experience. That's the experience they design the game for, and then they add the punishments for not doing that later. That's usually the way that works. I don't know about Warframe specifically, but I promise you that they're definitely going to do whatever it takes to keep that experience for the paying player as optimal as possible, to keep them in the game and to keep them paying. I promise you that people who are playing for free are the backseat to those paying customers. Because that's how your game makes money. Catering to the free-to-play crowd isn't going to make your game any money. It's just not. The easier you make it for them, the less incentive they have to pay. And the less money they pay, the less funds you have to keep the game going. It just doesn't make sense to do that as a business model. So I get why they do it. I'm just saying that from a game design perspective, it's bad game design. You should design your game in a way to make the optimal amount of money while still providing the optimal experience for all players, not just the ones that pay. To make paying a gameplay mechanic and not this wall you hit, or this thing that nags at you to make the game better.
That doesn't mean that players don't support the game. In fact, they do quite a lot, because by making things so accessible, giving massive discount.
And I'll stop it one more time before I go on to address your point. I think the large chunk of their money comes from cosmetics now. Now, yes, now a large portion of their money comes from cosmetics. And that's because now the majority of the people playing Warframe are the people that are hooked, like Ozzy, who have been playing it for a very long time, and they've already earned all of the things that they would otherwise spend money on for free. So the only thing left for them to buy is cosmetics. I don't think Warframe's getting very many new players. And it's not, as this guy is suggesting, a well-kept secret. Warframe's not a secret. People know about it. It's just a bad new player experience. And it's a bad experience for free-to-play players, which is why they don't stick around. The people who stick around are the people pumping money into it. And the only thing left for them to buy is cosmetics, because they've already pumped money into everything else. Or they've earned it by grinding like Ozzy did. Yes, so it's mostly coming from cosmetics now, but that's not an argument for the game being good with the way it's set up. It's an argument for it being bad the way it's set up, and why it's an argument for why Warframe isn't attracting new players.
And their currency and things like that, being able to just get all the things that you want in the game by playing it, players just want to spend money on the game because they. I mean,
he's describing mobile games,
so much, not because they feel like they need to. Imagine that. Imagine a world in which the players are not spending money on a game because they need to overcome some fabricated barrier that's put in place, and if they spend money, they're going to be able to get through it faster or get through it at all. No.
Hold on. I'm going to pause right now to play something else really quick, because he just said word for word an ad for a mobile game. You've all seen it. It's been on YouTube. I'm not even going to play the video. I'm just going to let you listen to it. God. I'm just going to let you listen. Is this one it? Is this one it? I'm just going to play one of the...
And yes, your underwear is getting tighter.
Big slow motion action. Holy. But not as it's all about.
No, that's not it. That's a different one. Okay, well, I can't find the ad itself, but I know it plays in between YouTube videos while I'm at work or while I'm watching YouTube on my phone. But that line he just said, imagine a game where you didn't have to pay to do this, this, and this. That is word for word the first line in every Marvel Snap ad on YouTube. Direct from the developer. Imagine a game on your phone where you didn't have to pay to do this, this, and this. That is exactly the same mentality. That is the exact mentality of a mobile game. They excuse all of their microtransactions. That is always the argument for devs on mobile games, is they excuse all of their microtransactions by saying, imagine if you didn't have to do them. You can earn all this stuff for free. That's the exact same argument.
And I want to bring up this point. If they really did care about the player base so much, if y'all actually said something about fuck, sorry, I have your fucking stream on, and sometimes I hear myself and get fucked up. Fuck, god damn it. That's why I sometimes have the stream muted, dude.
And Marvel Snap wasn't even really a good example because Marvel Snap doesn't have any pay-to-win elements in it at all. You can't buy cards. You can only buy skins. I do play Marvel Snap.
If the community actually built up an uproar about these mechanics, if they actually cared, then they would remove them.
Right.
Which is
that's been my argument from the beginning. Yeah. You're absolutely right. That if they actually did care about their community and they wanted to make their game better, they would remove the things that are hampering the experience and find other ways to monetize the game that don't hamper the experience. Marvel Snap makes buku bucks, and it does it without hampering the experience. You can't buy card packs in Marvel Snap like you can in Hearthstone. Like, you can't buy better cards. You can only earn them in game, and you can just buy variants of them that look different and look shiny. Yeah, like Marvel Snap makes good money.
What they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. That's why they sell $50 packs with the new Prime frame and like a fucking
$50, $80, yeah.
$50, $80 with fucking cosmetic or not cosmetics, currency. And I think that's where a lot of the currency comes from.
Oh, of course. Of course.
The people who sit here and get and I'm not even gonna lie, I've done it. I bought one. Cause I was hooked, dog. I was hooked.
Yep, that's how they get you.
Like it, I've done it. I will admit it. I have spent more than $80 on this.
And that's how it ruins the experience because that's there nagging at you and it hooks you. And yeah, you can earn everything for free. But God, how long would it take you to grind that? And would that be a fun experience? That's not the way you want to play the game, is it? To not have fun?
I did have fun doing the ones that I did. I stopped playing the game and I kept trying to want to get back into it over and over again.
I stopped playing the game because I'm a free-to-play player. And I refuse to pay money for anything other than cosmetics. This game's job for a free-to-play player is to hook them on the game itself and make them fall in love with the game and want to play the game so much that they'll buy the cosmetics to deck out the stuff they've earned.
I don't want to do it by myself, and it was...
Yeah, it's not fun to grind and get that stuff for free. It became tedious. It became a chore. It became unfun. And when I'm not having fun earning the things, I don't care about the things I'm earning anymore. And if I don't care about the things I'm earning, I'm not going to buy cosmetics for them. In fact, I'm going to eventually drop the game. This game is not a good free-to-play experience. It's not. I know he keeps touting this, you can get everything for free, like that's a good thing, but the way it actively punishes those free players is very blatant, very noticeable.
I mean, what would you like other than the wait timers? Like
the grind across the board, which I think Pike has said that they've lowered the grind on a lot of stuff. I would. You want to know what I would change in Warframe? Like, what would bring me back and make me care about this shit? Because I'm the type of guy, and my Fortnite account is proof, that if I'm having fun with your game and I'm earning stuff, I will pay for the cosmetics. I will buy a lot of them because I care about that stuff I've earned. Because I earned it. It's mine, and there's a sense of pride that goes with it, and I want it to look cool now. But you got to make me care about it first. What I would change in Warframe to make me care about this stuff, to make it better. Number one, lower the grind. And number two, give me more content, not more grind. I have been screaming that the biggest thing Warframe is missing is the thing that kept me hooked on Destiny for so long, that made that grind worth it. The fucking raids. The raids are the reason you play Destiny 2.
kinda do. They're not the same, but they do kinda
No,
do
I'm
the same.
talking real raids that take advantage of every gameplay mechanic and are these long, team-focused, big in-game mechanic like they are in Destiny 2, where the launch of a new raid is an event in and of itself. The crown jewel that you grind for. The culmination of all your work, of all your grind, of you and your clan, your team, your whatever. The culmination of all that in this one big, epic event that takes advantage of all your hard work and makes all of it feel worth it. And it did it without asking me for money. That's the goal. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. That's the reason I played Destiny for so long, is always waiting for that next raid and wanting to do a raid. That was my eye on the ball. That was my prize. That was what I was playing for.
Oh, too bad. No, they're not doing raids.
But they don't. But every time they introduce new content in this game, it's just new stuff to grind with no reason to grind it other than to have it to use in more stuff to grind. That's not a fun gameplay loop. I need the big end thing. I feel like I'm edging the entire time I'm playing Warframe and it won't let me come. It won't let me coon, man. I need to goon. I can't just goon the whole time. I'm a coomer. I need to coon. Stop edging me, Warframe. Let me flip it a bit. The game is a great free-to-play experience for a specific audience it targets. MMORPG grinders. Yeah, but I'm that. I played MMOs back in the day. I've played a lot of them. And I don't mind the grind. But they all had raids. Raids are the reason MMORPG grinders grind. It's the thing they're going for. The huge raids in World of Warcraft. The big raid at the end of Destiny. The awesome multi-phase boss raids in City of Heroes. Yeah, I played those. That's what you grind for. Even Diablo has Uber bosses and Uber dungeons. Like, Jesus. I just got here and we're already talking about Kumin. You're in the right place. Let's watch the rest of this video.
Spending money because they actually want to support the game. They just are enjoying themselves and want to.
I don't like the idea of spending money
Mind you,
for the
some
sake of
this is
supporting the
definitely driven
game.
by convenience, but the vast majority of
You are a
players
customer.
love
You
the
should
game
get
and wanna
something for
support
it.
And that's not to
Other
say
than
there aren't
I need to
areas worth
donate to the
criticizing.
game.
I'm still not a fan of the fact of them having
Hold on.
12 to 72 hour
Oh, here's the wait timers.
crafting timers on weapons and Warframes.
What's
That's
the cope?
It's just too much. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just too much. And also, there's a big limitation on the amount of weapon and Warframe slots, inventory slots that are available early on. For
What's the
players.
cope?
That's something that in
That's
general just
definitely
needs to get
something I think they
fixed.
should change.
But the thing is that the longer you play the game, the less those things become an issue because you have so many other things that you're working on.
Oh, that's the
leveling
cope.
up.
The same, yeah, so it's the same cope Ozzy gave me of the, well, you're supposed to ignore the wait timers and go do other things. No. No.
Yeah, if they were like 30 minutes at most, maybe you could argue that.
Yeah, no. No.
'Cause that's
72
like as long
hours.
as a single mission. Like,
So I'm supposed to take my focus away from the thing I've been grinding for a
say
week
that it's cringe.
to go do something else for 3 days? Yeah, I did something else for those 3 days. I played a different game. And then I forgot about yours. That's what it does. This cope to go do something else is basically just telling me to go play another game. This is sheer fucking cope. I do think most people are asking for raids, but I don't think is super interested in that. Why? Because they're only super interested in easy money. And copy and pasting content and just doing the same thing over and over
They're doing their weird story thing. I
is,
kinda
yeah. It's a fundamental difference in the game. And look, like that copy pasted easy kind of content where you just keep doing the same thing over and over and calling it content is the reason I left Destiny 2. Because I didn't even mind spending the money in Destiny 2 for big game expansions if it meant I didn't have any pay to win microtransactions in it, and I buy this big expansion and I get a big shit ton of content. That's the way PC games have always worked. You buy the game and then the game gives you an expansion. World of Warcraft's had many. That's a normal thing. The problem is there isn't a shitload of content in Destiny's expansions. That game has had none, zero. Destiny 2 has had zero new enemy factions since the game launched. Every new and I mean actual new faction. When they make a new faction, like the Taken or the Scourge or whatever, it's just reskins of existing factions. You're still fighting the same 3 aliens. Well, 2 aliens and robots. Over and over again, just this version of them looks slightly different. That's why the raids were so exciting. It was the only place in the game that had actual new enemies and actual new content.
To be fair, they do have a lot of different enemies, and they've been working on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a criticism at Warframe. That's a criticism at Destiny, because I'm just using that as my example of lazy content, and that they overcharge for their lazy content. When I talk about Warframe's copy and paste, I'm just talking about the game's mechanics. Maybe it's different now. I have not played in quite a while, but for a while there, when I was playing Warframe, the new content was add a new Warframe, add a new gun, or add a new mission to grind over and over again. It was the same loop over and over and over again with no big reward at the end. That was my complaint. It does need raids. Something serious.
The story missions are cool. I'll give them that. Like,
yeah, the story was
come back and play it for.
Yeah, the I went back the last time they did a big story thing. It was when they added the battle pass. They did a big story thing. I came back, and that's what happens. I come back, I play the big story thing, and then I leave because I don't want to get caught in that loop grind over and over that leads to no big fucking epic showdown or epic thing at the end. Like, it feels like I'm grinding for the sake of grinding. I'm not getting anywhere, and I don't want that. And it looks like I'm not the only one that feels that way, because when we looked at the Steam charts, it keeps an average of between 100 and 150,000 players. They launch a new story update, and that number doubles to over 300,000. Everybody beats the story, and then it goes back down. So half of those people that joined left after they beat the story. Same way I did. And there's no money for them to make there doing that either, because there's people join, play the content, and then leave, aren't spending any money.
Or they're doing what I did and spending money trying to get back into it.
One that I'm not particularly fond of, but finished up in like 2 weeks. They fixed that loop kind of, but they have a new loop. Yeah, they don't need a new loop. They need a way to close the loop. That's what raids are. Raids close the loop. That's what raids do. They close the loop. You grind and grind and grind, so you can beat the raid, because it's this really hard content that demands optimal gear and a good team, and conquering that feels like an accomplishment. It feels like this is what it was all for. And then the loop starts anew as you start grinding new loot for the next new raid. But they got to keep new raids coming. But the raid is the...
feel like that.
What's that?
The Eidolons kind of feel like that. Like, they did for a while until
the Eidolons? I mean, kind of, but they're not what I meant by raid. Like, I did an Eidolon hunt. I remember Pike way back in the day, Pike. You were the one giving me that same argument he's giving me right now, that the Eidolons are like raids. Go do the Eidolon hunts. Go do the Eidolon hunts. And I grinded and grinded and grinded and finally did one. It was fun.
Did you do all 4, or did you do the easy one? Because you have to do 3.
Yeah, but that's not a raid. That's just a big boss fight. I mean, it's a fun big boss fight, but that's not what I mean when I say raid. I'm not talking crazy raid like World of Warframe, like World of Warcraft had back in the day. I remember 8-hour raids in World of Warcraft. These long missions that required optimal gear and coordination between a large group of people. and you guys had to be on your game for this long ass journey between like 5 and 8 hours, and if you fucked it up, well, back to square one. I'm not talking about that. That's insane. We're way past those years of gaming. But Destiny's raids take a good bit of time. There's always a race when a Destiny raid launches to see who can be the world's first to finish it, because they take so long. Like, a good team could probably beat a raid in Destiny in about an hour, but on average, they're going to take you 2 to 3. Which is long, but it's not like World of Warcraft fucking 8 to 9 hours long. You know, it's not like a full-time job here. It's a good long marathon kind of thing. It's this big epic experience. It's not just a boss fight.
While all these other things are building in the background that you really don't even notice it all that much. And while there's room for improvement, this is largely the most ethical live service game I've ever seen monetized.
What?
And I don't think any other game wants to try to compete on those terms.
What?
They definitely don't want to compete on their content.
What?
Warframe's first turning point came when the game released on Steam, which marked a critical success and provided the studio with the necessary resources to be able to continue to support and develop the game. Unlike competitive shooters that can maintain an audience with minimal updates, Warframe faced the challenge of sustaining interest in a PvE-centric game, which is far more difficult. To overcome this, Digital Extremes heavily leaned on the experienced development team who had weathered the storm through the toughest times and possessed the deep institutional knowledge that was necessary to make the game successful. If it wasn't for the fact that they held on to their employees when the game and the studio was facing its closure, they likely would have never been able to make the game the success that it is today. In the years following the game's release on Steam, Warframe saw a rapid expansion in content. The studio introduced clans.
I'm still listening, but I'm waiting for him to explain how Warframe is the most ethical monetization system in game.
He uses big talking points. He uses big, like, grandiose phrases.
Dude, that is a bold claim. That is not even remotely true. So I'm waiting for some supporting argument for it. And he just kind of pivots into the game's content. But you're not even talking about the monetization here. He hasn't even gone over most of it. He's glossed over some of it, but we ain't touched on how.
Everybody forgets that there's a rotating daily shop.
Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out how this is the most ethical. Like, really? You can say it's profitable. You can say a lot of things about it, but I don't know if ethical is what I would call Warframe's monetization system. Or, excuse me, systems, plural. But continue, sir.
Plans, player hubs, a plethora of new weapons and warframes, and diverse gameplay elements like open world areas, vehicles, and space combat. But the most significant shift in the game's identity came with the release of The Second Dream, a cinematic quest that redefined Warframe as a game. This quest introduced fully voice-acted, high-quality cinematic experiences with intricate writing and storytelling that elevated the game from a compelling free-to-play title to a truly exceptional experience. No longer was Warframe just a free-to-play game, it was just a great game that happened to be free-to-play. Digital Extremes continued to push boundaries with subsequent updates, including the new war, Whispers in the Walls, and the upcoming major update, Warframe 1999. These expansions demonstrate a level of writing, character development, and cinematic quality that's typically associated with
he's talking about the
AAA
story stuff right now.
blockbuster titles.
Yeah,
reflecting
I'll admit the
nothing
story's
of what
gotten a
we've
lot
seen
better.
in typical free-to-play games. The studio's ambition to deliver high-end content.
I also think a lot of shit in Warframe is shit that they just forgot about and won't be bothered to change, i.e. the rotating shop. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's... that I had a feeling this video would be a Warframe Glaze Fest, and that's absolutely what it is. I have a feeling he's not going to go over all of the content in the game that has been forgotten or lost or not cared about. I'm not just talking about PvP. He's talking about how good the story's gotten and the story is in later expansions, but he's not talking about how bad the new player experience is and how they haven't gone back and updated those earlier parts of the game to make the story more cohesive and to make it feel more like a full-fledged video game that just happens to be free, this big blockbuster experience. It does feel like it does feel like a game that's, yeah, it's evolved over time. And by evolved, I mean they just kept adding stuff to it. So it does feel like a completely different game in the beginning than it feels after you get to those in-game parts where they actually updated and cared about the game. It does feel like two separate games at the moment. Or at least did the last time I played.
Content remained evident with every release, further increasing the game's reputation among players both new and old. That's what's made the Warframe that we have today. One of the systems I was the most shocked by was at one point I unlocked what I can best describe as Sea of Thieves in space. You get a railjack, a fully customizable ship that you can upgrade. It has multiple weapons that are controlled by other players.
I liked the railjack.
I think railjack was underutilized because I thought, like, you know the raids that you were talking about? I thought that was the start of the raid.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Were going to be how you fought your way to the raid.
Yep.
You had to go through the long railjack mission, and then you had to go through like this hard-ass regular mission once you actually get there, and then you have to do a boss fight,
yes,
and then you have to escape within a time limit.
That would have been...
That would feel fun.
That would have been an awesome way to do a raid. To have you start with the railjack, so now you've got a new thing to grind and upgrade, and you feel it's useful in the raid, and you use it to get past an army of enemies, so you can board a ship, and then you board the ship, and then that becomes the second part of the raid. Navigating through that ship, breaking down its defenses, working your way to the big boss at the end of the ship, or taking it over, or whatever the raid's going to be, and then getting that big thing at the end. A lot of Destiny raids work kind of like that, where you got this big opening area, you've got to work your way in, you got to solve some puzzles. You know, it's got new gameplay. It's got gameplay mechanics in Destiny that are only available in raids, such as, you know, the solving the puzzles. There are sections that go into third person. There's mechanics in Destiny's raids that aren't in any other part of Destiny.
Added that whole AI crew thing because they didn't do anything with it.
They haven't touched that shit since release the railjack. Yeah, the railjack felt like the start of something great.
Crew is now gone because you can just get AI to do it for you.
Yeah, the railjack should have been the start of something great, not just this thing they added as something new to do and then forgot about, which is the way a lot of Warframe's content felt to me. Is stuff they added, that's something new to do, they tried it out, and then they went back to business as usual and just kind of forgot about it. It just became an option for them to add to a bullet list, so that when they're advertising the game, people like this guy can say, there's so much to do, you can do this, without telling you that half of that content feels like they started it and never finished it. And so, yeah, apparently there were raids at one point. Yeah, I remember Ozzy saying that there were raids at one point, or they were working on raids at one point, but then they just didn't commit to them. It's another thing in their long list of things they started and didn't finish or abandoned.
They don't have or because this game has taken so long, they have to keep adding new end game, bro. Like that.
Yeah, to keep the people playing. Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only thing they care about, because the only people still playing this game are people who are at the end game, or people who've been playing as long as Ozzy. There are no more casual Warframe players. There are no more new Warframe players.
I can't catch up ever, bro.
Yeah, you're never going to.
And grind. And it's it might have been cool at the beginning, but it's god damn.
Yeah, there are no new Warframe players. There are no casual Warframe players.
You can make it a fun time. But I think about around Mastery Rank 15 is where it's just so fucking boring, bro.
Yep.
I swear to God.
Yeah, it's not paced well. It's focused on the players it already has, and it doesn't care about new ones or ones that play casually. It is 100% focused at its hardcore audience now, and that audience is happy with just new things to grind. That audience isn't screaming for raids. That audience played Railjack and went, this isn't as fun to grind. So then they abandoned that. That audience, tries a new thing they add. If that audience doesn't take to it, they abandon the new thing and go back to business as usual. That's been the even flow of things.
I mean, you'd think if they did raids, they would have to invest in dedicated servers, because I feel okay, the easy ass basic missions, you don't really need dedicated servers.
Yeah, you would have to have that. Because
for raids, 100%, you can't have nothing fucking with that.
Because a good raid is going to do what Destiny does and what most things do. The raids are supposed to be bigger content for bigger teams. A fire team in Destiny is 3 people. The raids are 6. You bring 6 people into a raid. It doubles the team size for the raid. It was the same thing in like, oh my God, World of Warcraft back in the day went insane. I remember watching my brother do a 40-man raid. In no other part of the game do you need a 40-man team. Like, I'm not saying you need to get that insane, but raids are supposed to be these big things that, you know.
You have to have a full stack of 4 people. Honestly, I wish with Railjack you could have maybe expanded the lobby size to like 6 people. I always thought that was a missed opportunity. I'm like, why are we still limiting ourselves to 4 people here?
I'm on the boat
Especially
that Warframe. I'm on the boat that Warframe, like 2K and COD players, fits in its own little room on the gaming space. Nobody needs to touch it, and it's self-sufficient. Yep, that's exactly what it's doing. It only cares about its existing fan base, and it's going to milk them until they're gone, and then they have to actually make a new game. Like, that's pretty much that's the same boat Destiny ended up in, and that's why it's where it's at. It's nearing the end of that lifespan for its existing player base to milk, and they're going to have to do something drastic now. So, but keep going with your cope, sir.
And raid enemy bases. While the feature didn't land well on release and it had its issues, what is available today is an absolute blast to play, and it feels like it's completely native to the game, and like it could have been there from the start. In the landscape of live service and free-to-play games, many developers opt for the safe approach, focusing on incremental updates and minor changes rather than undertaking any significant overhaul. This safe strategy often results in steady, gradual improvements, but most major additions and transformative changes end up being locked behind paid expansions, premium content, and microtransactions. Typically, free-to-play games and live service games will introduce minor tweaks, seasonal updates, and limited time offers to try to keep players engaged.
Yeah.
While Warframe does the exact same thing. They aren't strangers to making big splashes with major updates, and all the while, they're not charging the players a dime. Other games with standard offerings can sometimes refresh the experience and provide.
I wish he'd give some
incentives to be able to
examples.
log in, but they rarely bring the wide sweeping changes that might significantly alter the gameplay or narrative.
Because I can name a
The
bunch
game
of games that
overall
do
feels
all the things
stale.
you say they're not
I'll
doing.
give kudos to games like Fortnite, who often radically change their map, put in new
Yeah,
modes,
he is.
and
Giving
give
props to
more ways
Fortnite,
for
because
players to
Fortnite
be able
is the
to
gold
express
standard for free
themselves in
games.
Like even creating their own games within Fortnite. However, the vast majority of games don't do this, and in combination with that lack of risk, they often let go of the developers that got them to where they are in the first place, ignoring the players that got them to where they are in the first place. And as a
Yeah, I'd
result,
love to hear
they
some
hollow
examples
out
of the
their
bad here.
experience, leaving them with nowhere to go. There's too much focus on monetization, and it's leading to a disparity between the expectations of the player and the financial outlook of the developer.
Yeah.
Today, we have
I'll
developers that
agree
are
with that.
understaffed, underpaid, under a lot of pressure, under-delivering to their audience, while for some odd reason the company is still expecting more money. You have CEOs that are out there projecting growing profit
It's like
without
Andrew
investing
Tate.
in growing content. And their expectation is because you're playing, then you must be paying, and I'm sick of it. Look, just recently I saw with Apex Legends, the big drama.
Okay, so
that
what are you
popped
gonna
up
do
around
about
it? Where basically, long story short, developer goes in and makes it where you can no longer earn the next battle pass by completing the last battle pass, where previously you were able to.
Okay.
And they made these changes, gaslighting the players, saying that it's because we're trying to deliver you guys a more valuable experience. We're doing it because we're trying to grow the game, and we're giving you guys more value. That's really what it is. When anybody with any base level of intelligence can see how insulting it is to say something like that when it's so transparently not that. And they're not the
A
only
lot
developer
of
doing
what you
things
just
like
said
that.
can
You see
apply
it
to
across the
Warframe's
board.
mechanics too.
So many developers that are making minor changes to
Basically,
their
he's
game,
just saying
but all of their focus is
it's
on
not as bad. They're not trying to nickel and dime me on every single screen of the game because there's only 3 screens in the game. But they're still going to nickel and dime me though.
Well, his cope earlier, with the massive cope that came with the wait timers, was well, you play the game for so long, you get used to them. You know, you don't need to worry about them. They don't get in the way that much if you're playing the game that much. So that same thing he's mad about now, where he's like, they're saying they're adding value in Apex by making you buy every battle pass instead of earning one for free. Well, that same statement applies there too. Well, if you're playing the game that much and spending that amount of time in the game, of course you're going to want to support it and buy the battle pass anyway, right? So it won't bother you that much. The argument of it doesn't bother you that much because you got used to it. That's fucking Stockholm syndrome, man. Like that's what you say when you're in an abusive relationship. I didn't even realize he was treating me that bad. I got so used to it. It doesn't feel like love if he doesn't hit me. That's an abusive relationship you're describing. What are you on, man? Like, I feel like you don't need to play Warframe. I feel like you need to make a call to BetterHelp. I can get used to all the bad things because I've spent so much time with it. Oh, I can get used to him cussing me out. I can get used to him coming home drunk. I can even get used to being slapped around a little bit. In fact, I've learned to like it rough because I've been here so long. You sound like an abuse victim coping.
On their monetization, how else they can shift and move things around to make it where they can make more money and you get less out of playing the game. And in that, the only thing that you're serving to do is make an audience that isn't loyal to you, that is just waiting, frothing at the mouth at the chance to be able to jump onto the next game and get as far away from you as they possibly.
That mentality is the problem. What he just said, that mentality is the problem. Your goal should not be to make a loyal audience. Loyalty isn't the player's fucking job or goal. Your job is to give them entertainment. They shouldn't want to play your game because they're loyal to your company or loyal to your game. That's something you say to people when they're like, hey, you need to be here through thick and thin. It's going to get rough. It's not a relationship. This idea that gamers have a relationship with developers needs to fucking stop. Developers don't know you. They're not your friend. They're the person selling you a product. That dude at the car dealership, he can talk as friendly as he wants to talk, but he's not your friend. He's your fucking car salesman. He's there to sell you a car and make a commission. He's going to tell you what you need to hear to get in that vehicle and drive it off that fucking lot. And after that, you're not going to see him again. He ain't coming to your wedding. He ain't going to go bowling with you. He's not your boy. These devs aren't your friends. They're not joining your Discord server. They're not hanging out with you. And unless you're a fucking big-time influencer, they ain't joining your live stream either, bruh. They're not your friend. You don't need to be loyal to them.
Just put the fries in the bag, bro.
They should be earning your money, not earning your loyalty. This idea that you need to support them, that's why I'm giving them money. I need to be loyal to this company to make the game better. No, they should just make a better game. You get my money by making the game better. I don't get a better game by giving you money. That's the opposite of how this transaction should be working. I shouldn't be buying a game hoping they're going to No Man's Sky this shit and make it good eventually. Make your game good and then I'll give you my money. I hate this mentality.
Possibly can. Sure, they're playing your game right now. Sure, it's popular right now, but that's because they don't really have another option, and there's nothing else right now that's that hot.
What?
So once there is something that hot that comes out, you're done. That's it. Players are a valuable resource, and you need to value them. They provide you with everything that you need to be successful, both creatively and financially.
Right, so you should provide them with a reason to stay.
Way, you can be huge, you can be massive, and while
he's in the Warframe, he's been playing Warframe just long enough to get so hooked, and he hasn't hit the rut yet. He will hit the rut, and he'll change his mind.
We'll see.
Or he's got friends who are already like really strong.
Yeah, I'm seeing this cope. I mean, I'll look at his channel after this.
They have a different audience. They have a different use case. Not everybody plays the same kind of games. When you value them, they keep you afloat. They help you grow. And in the case of Digital Extremes and Warframe, I don't think that there's another
Depends
developer
on what he
that's
means
out
by
there that
value them.
appreciates their audience the same way or does the same things that Digital Extremes does with their audience. Except for maybe
mobile games
studios. Why did you guys have to go and create a community YouTube channel? And even more so, why am I not in it? I get it. Like Lowly and Co-Carnage are really cool, but like I made a lot of videos on Baldur's Gate. Come on, man. Initially, I had wondered how Warframe was able to hold on to such a consistent player base for so long. Regardless of good or bad updates, new games, or financial declines, their core audience has stayed rock solid for over a decade now, and in and of itself, that is a feat that very few games have accomplished. It wasn't until I started streaming my experience over on Twitch, playing the game for the very first time, that I was exposed to the game's community, and in that, I noticed how positive they are. An eerily similar experience I had with Final Fantasy XIV, but altogether completely.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy XIV earned
Many
that.
players have been playing the game since alpha. They've unlocked everything in the game, effectively beaten the game, logging thousands of hours. However, they are still logging in regularly, even daily. They are out there guiding new players and doing things that they've done thousands of times because they love the game that much. And I was curious where that comes from. Well, sure, the game has regular updates, new content, new weapons, and new warframes. I couldn't see how Warframe could become somebody's daily driver until I saw how Digital Extremes engages with their community. Oftentimes, developers
I shouldn't be playing your game because I like your developers as people. I should be playing your game because I'm having fun with it.
Go out and respond or repost.
I feel like a lot of people are playing this game for the wrong reason, if that's what you're doing.
Content to drive up interest around the next big update or major change. In that time of silence,
Liking the developers can't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt, but it shouldn't be the reason you're playing the game.
Than they actually are.
It helps, but the game should come first.
Engaged, they lose interest, and DE makes it really hard for you not to feel engaged as they support their community like they're content creators rather than game developers.
Yeah, they're good at that engagement.
Live on YouTube and Twitch to do something they call a
but that engagement should be reflected in the game.
CEO of Digital Extremes, together with Rebecca Ford, the once community manager and now creative director of Warframe, just talk to the players for 15 minutes. They answer questions. They tell them about things that they're
so they're good at PR. That's all I'm hearing right now.
Week.
Is that they're good at PR.
Game studios give that kind of transparency to the players? What other game companies are that grounded to make sure that their CEO of all people is constantly in contact with the players? None. And that's not all they do.
Lots. No, not none. There are other CEOs who engage with who did this and used to do this stuff, because that's the thing. Liking or hating your CEO shouldn't be the make or break of the game. Remember Todd Howard? Todd Howard used to do this shit a lot too. And all of their games got big. But they're not there for you. Todd Howard learned that shit the hard way. They ain't there for you. This audience isn't there to play your game because you made it and they like you. They're there for the game. And if the game's not good, your personality shouldn't overpower that. The reason you don't see other CEOs doing this is because other CEOs have already learned that. That making friends with your community should be a second priority to making the game good. And in fact, when your game's really good, then your players are too busy playing the game to want to have a fucking weekly sit down with the CEO. Like, why is that even a talking point? Warframe's good because the CEO talks to us? This is just PR. You're not telling me reasons the game is good anymore. Now you're just telling me that I should like the devs.
Devs or streamers.
Yeah, like, you're not telling me the game is good. You're telling me the devs are fun to talk to and interact with. I'm not playing their game out of sympathy. As a point after the game has been established and solid. I mean, this just goes to my point that I don't think the game's established and solid. I think the game's community is established and solid, and that's why they do it. I don't think the game itself is established and solid. I'll go back to my previous point. Warframe's not attracting new players. Warframe's not friendly to new players. Warframe's only bread and butter is its existing community. This isn't
I
them.
think you're right, where they need raids, and then they need to go back and fix a bit of the earlier content. And I think the game could be in a good state to where it could just be done.
Right.
Make it your next game.
The game
Warframe has been around for 10 years.
it
Can we go to
boils
Warframe 2?
it boils down to a game being not for everyone. It's for a solid target audience. First of all, there is no such thing as a game that's for everyone. Every game is for a target audience. The difference between what Warframe is doing and other games are doing is other games are focused on making their game good to keep players playing and to bring in new players to try to expand that audience, because you can't keep the same audience around forever. Eventually, they're going to run out of content, or they're going to get bored, or they're going to move. Whereas Warframe has locked in an audience, and their way of keeping that audience engaged is by engaging directly with that audience. That's great. That keeps your existing players there because they feel like they're your friend. It's a parasocial relationship they're forming with their existing players. The problem with that is it's not going to bring in any new players. And you can only do that for so long. You do got to keep giving them new content, but it's why all the content they make is focused on that group of people, because it does feel like you're playing a game that was made by your friends and you're playing as part of a community instead of playing a game because the game is good. I feel like a lot of them play it out of habit, and a lot of them play it because they feel guilty if they don't, because they formed this parasocial relationship with the devs that now they feel guilty if they stop playing it. That's the wrong reason to play a game. And it just, I don't know, maybe I don't understand that mentality because that shit doesn't work on me. I could give two fucks about their live streams. I could give two fucks about their CEO tweeting at me or atting me at something or talking to their community. I don't care if I never hear from your devs ever, as long as your game is good.
Neither fighting games, Pike, honestly.
I think
with that logic, if we're gonna just say that, they don't do it well. I mean, yeah, fighting games, but everybody keeps trying.
I don't think MMORPGs reach out to a new audience well by nature. They can. Many do. World of Warcraft has done it multiple times. Final Fantasy XIV's done it multiple times. That's why I said they've earned that, because Final Fantasy does find ways to bring in new players. And Final Fantasy doesn't abuse the players they have, and it doesn't keep them around by making them feel guilty by not playing, because it forms a parasocial relationship to them. Final Fantasy XIV just delivers good content with no microtransactions. It's just a good game. It's probably, if I had to go play an MMO, if I had time to play an MMO, I'd go back to that one. I had a lot of fun in that game. It's a really good MMO. And it doesn't have a singular fucking microtransaction in it.
Time over on Twitch, and each of them have their own separate streams for English and Spanish, where the developers and community managers come out to play the game with the players. Have you ever heard of anything more absurd than that? Developers actually playing their game and playing their game with players, with an audience up to
who the fuck cares?
1,000 viewers, giving away skins, Twitch drops, different
yeah,
items,
they're good at
streaming
PR and
currencies.
parasocial relationship
they play
forming.
Trivia games with chat, and they show off different community art submissions. They are more involved.
I care
with
about.
their community
Stop
than
playing your
any
game and start working on it. That would be what I'd be screaming at them in chat. Stop playing with me and go fucking make the. Why are you playing your game instead of working on it? Stop wasting your time doing this.
Those people don't work on the game.
It's why they are
They're
allowed
community
to take the
managers.
risks with the games
Yeah, they're
that
good
they
at
have, and
PR.
even
I
with
know, I'm
future
just-
games
it's just the
developed,
look
like
of it.
Soulframe. The players know that they're appreciated. They know that the developer is trying to achieve something, and they can tell that they truly love what they are doing. They can clearly see that these developers love their game, and it shows. Digital Extremes recognizes what many developers have slowly.
I'll admit they love their game and they love what they're doing, and they may even love their community, but they don't respect them.
Be what it is. And in fact, for Warframe, that's.
I can say that for a fact. If you respected your community and you respected the time of the people who were playing your game, you take out the wait timers.
Third-person shooter. It had sliding and running, but overall the movement was slow. Players discovered an exploit where they called it Zoran coptering,
Just
where
let
they
people
could
collect
essentially
shit.
fly
I don't
across
understand
maps,
why you're
sling
trying
themselves
to
across
like.
maps
Why
and
sell
complete
that on
missions
top
in a
of
fraction
selling
of
the
time.
items on top
Instead
of
removing
like
this, instead of standing
I would understand selling the Warframes, selling the guns, but then selling slots on top of that and having
they
wait
have
timer.
Warframe has. While we're on the topic here, just to recap for everyone watching, Warframe has just about every possible monetization system you can have in a game, in a singular game. There are no video games in existence with as many monetization systems in one game as Warframe that aren't on a mobile phone. They have a mobile phone level of monetization. There's a rotating shop. There is a battle pass. There are premium packs. You can buy Warframes. You can buy premium versions of Warframes. You can buy guns. If you buy too many, now you have to buy slots to expand them. If you want to craft them and get them for free, well, now you have to pay to skip a wait timer.
You can't even skip the tiers in the battle pass, weirdly enough.
Every single thing in this game has a monetization system attached to it in some shape, form, or fashion. And I know you're going to scream, well, they're not selling loot boxes. They kind of are.
For the battle.
They kind of are. They kind of are selling loot boxes. Relics are like loot boxes. You may not be able to buy them directly from the game, but the game heavily encourages the player-based economy, which is fueled by what? Platinum, which somebody had to pay for somewhere down that line. So you can use the in-game currency to buy those loot boxes.
Every once in a while, they release a cool one, Pike. They do release a few cool free ones. Not recently. I kind of forgot about it again. It's another one of those half-baked things, but they were doing stuff with it. It was having a seasonal rotation.
I don't necessarily agree because I think the wait timers give breathing room to shift gears. For me, at least, Warframe weapons slots do suck, though. Also, their battle pass is insignificant. If it was insignificant, it wouldn't be there. It's significant enough that they feel like selling it to you, dude.
It's not for sale.
What, the battle pass?
No.
I could swear it was for sale. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Your mic keeps doing this thing where it gets real loud, and then it gets loud, and then it gets real quiet. Jesus.
I didn't realize. Sometimes I can't hear it.
Okay, well, I thought it was paid for, but I could have sworn it was paid for, but I haven't really played since they added the battle pass.
No, and they do add some free cool shit every once in a while, but it's very rare now. They're one of those half-baked things.
I mean, fine, then I'll give it to them on the battle pass, but it's still all the rest of the mechanics are still there. There's still an excessive amount of monetization in this game. I would take a paid battle pass over the real money fucking player-based trading system, because that's what it turns into, is people buying relics with real money, which is essentially loot boxes. And they get to hide behind this excuse of, well, we don't sell loot boxes. They get to have their cake and eat it too, because people buy the platinum and they'll spend the platinum on loot boxes.
Especially because they rotate the relics. Like, if you could just earn all the relics, then maybe I'd be a little more lenient.
Why do you think they rotate the relics, Waffle? Why do you think they do that?
Yeah, so you have to buy them from people.
Right. They're using their players to sell loot boxes for them.
Buy more platinum.
Right. They're using their players as middlemen. There's a section of their player base that are basically loot box dealers, so that they get to go out and do the PR thing where they go, we don't sell loot boxes. We don't do this. Yeah, you don't, but you make your players do it for you. That's somehow worse. How are we excusing that? That's worse.
I'm not even against them being tradable either. Like,
no, but they should
be locked.
There needs to be no, if you're going to do that, then you can't attach real money to it. Otherwise, people just end up buying loot boxes again. Now you're just selling loot boxes again with extra steps.
I mean, the relics would end up just becoming the currency, I feel like.
That's fine, as long as there's no real money attached to it. The minute there's real money attached to it, now you're just selling loot boxes with extra steps.
You can buy the relics for real money.
They're just loot boxes. The rotation also spreads content out thin, so you can't knock out the content all at once and burn out of the game. Kind of what wait timers work with.
Bro, there has been so much content.
Stop. Pike. You are a college-educated man. You're one of the smartest people to ever come in my stream.
Not been a problem since the fucking beta, bro. There is so much content in this game. What are you on about? There is no end to this content.
Pike, you are one of the smartest people to ever step foot in my stream. And that is the dumbest shit I've ever read. Stop coping about wait timers. There is zero reason wait timers are in this game other than to stonewall people into paying money for their impatience. They are not a gameplay mechanic. There's zero reason for them to be in the game other than to make you pay to skip them. They are a punishment for not paying. Full stop.
And like I said, if they were actually meant for what you were talking about, they would last about as long as an average Warframe match. So you go play one round of something, which is about 30 minutes. Usually you're playing for about 30 minutes to maybe an hour.
You aren't going to go do that something else for 72 goddamn hours. That is any excuse for these.
12 hours, too long. Multiple hours is kind of crazy.
There's any
like a rare item.
Any mental gymnastics you're doing to excuse the wait timers and to say why they're okay is pure fucking cope. It's pure fucking cope. There is no reason they should be in the game. None. This also goes along with the other thing I said. It's a relic of old content. So remove it!
Yeah, they should remove it.
Remove it! Why are we acting like because it's in the game, it's stuck there forever now? It's not. It's not a fucking tattoo, and you can even laser those off. Just fucking get rid of it. If it's a relic of... If it's a relic of old mechanics and the game has evolved past needing it, then remove them. Same thing I'll say with PvP. Either do something with it or remove it. It's wasted hard drive space, if nothing else. Jesus.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, all this content in the game that doesn't need to be there, trim the fat. Fucking what are we trying to hit, like Call of Duty levels of hard drive space where I have to download a 200 gig game, most of which I'm never going to play? Just, no, trim it down.
They really cater to the photo mode community, I've noticed.
Optimize your fucking game.
They sell so many backgrounds for photo mode, bro. It's so crazy. There's a lot of earnable ones too, but god damn.
Yeah,
you can tell this game's fucking fashion frame community is crazy.
Yeah, it's the parasocial relationship they formed with them. The fashion frame community selling them stuff. That's all stuff for that community to do, to share on social media, to promote the game for the devs that are their friends, because I watch their live streams. It's cope, dude. This has been a pure cope video.
Against the players and changing something that the players were enjoying or doing. They recognized that the players were exploiting this because they were trying to avoid something that was actively ruining their experience. So Digital Extremes revamped the entire movement system for the game, reworking it from the ground up to be one of the most fluid movement systems.
Yeah, I'll give it to them. The movement change was
this video
very
took a lot
enjoyable.
Longer to record than
Much
I
needed.
thought it would. It's already dark outside. You might actually end up hearing my cat chattering with another cat that shows up outside. This little orange cat. They just kind of talk through the window. It's adorable. Over the last few years, I've noticed a conversation that's popped up between game developers and game journalists, and they're talking about how cold and unfeeling and how unsimple.
It's not a cosmetic game, Pike. I'm going to stop you there, too. Stop with the cope. Warframe is not a cosmetic game. It sells... Cosmetics are the... It's not a cosmetic game. That is... There's so much other shit to buy other than cosmetics, that cosmetics are usually going to be the last thing a new player buys if they're trying to catch up. A new player now would log in and spend way more money on catch-up mechanics to catch up with other players than they would spend on cosmetics. A cosmetic game? You're thinking of Fortnite. There is literally nothing else to buy in that game but cosmetics. That's a cosmetic game.
Yeah, from the fucking main player base that sits there, that from Aussie's player base, like
yes.
group.
And I'll go back to what I've been saying. Yes, that may be a majority of their profits, but that is because the player base they have is people who've been there forever and formed that parasocial bond with them. They aren't attracting any new players. And any new players they have are people that got talked into playing by one of those people, and now they have to spend a ton of money on catch-up mechanics to catch up with their friends. If you're a brand new player joining without any friends in the game, you just found it on Steam and thought it seemed interesting and you don't know anyone else that plays it, cosmetics aren't the first thing you're going to notice for sale, sir. And they're not going to feel like the focus at all.
It's going to be Warframes. 100%.
You're going to get slapped in the face with Warframes that are purchasable. You're going to get slapped.
Start a new account.
You're going to get immediately slapped in the face with Warframes that are purchasable. Then you're going to get slapped in the face with guns that are purchasable. Then you're going to grind and get some stuff to craft your first Warframe, and you're going to get slapped in the face with a wait timer. The cosmetics are going to be the last thing you see that you can spend money on.
You will get bored and instantly want to go back to your account where you have everything done.
I'm still on the boat that the game is designed around the player base. It is now, yes, at this point, it is designed around its existing player base because that's all it has. It has a parasocial, abusive relationship with a group of players. It knows it, and it needs to keep them happy because it's all they've got. They've got nothing for new players. They don't know how to draw new players in. They don't know how to keep them around. The Steam chart shows that. Nobody else needs to play the game. And that's how your game dies. The attitude that no one else needs to play it. Your existing player base won't stay there forever. They've done a good job of keeping them around longer than most, but it does have a shelf life. And if they don't do something to extend that player base, they will eventually start to dwindle.
Why do you think they're making their new game?
This is a lesson Destiny's learned the hard way right now. They're learning that shit right fucking now, the hard way. They should have planned ahead. Warframe needs to do the same. It needs to plan ahead and start moving on. Either revamp this shit to bring in new players, or make something new. Path of Exile did. Just saying. By the way, Path of Exile, also, that is a cosmetic-only game. Let's finish this code.
Gamers are towards the plight of the industry, how some of these companies are failing, how games are failing, how companies are going out of business, how people are losing their jobs, and they are absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, we are consumers, we're buying games, and if you do not make a game that we want to play and it wasn't worth our money and we wasted it on your game, and you go out of business as a result of that, that's on you. You got what you got coming to you. But it didn't used to be like that. And I think the reason why...
Yeah, the world's changed. The market's changed.
And this is something that's just kind of evolved over time, is that many of the companies that are out there right now, some of the biggest companies that are out there right now, came from humble beginnings, no different than Larian Studios or Digital Extremes or anyone else that's out there. But when they were smaller, they felt like they were one of us, because they were one of us.
Stop this parasocial shit.
Making games because they wanted to make cool games for them to play and for other people to play.
He likes the devs.
But as time went on and they got
He's
bigger,
real focused on this parasocial
thing.
thing.
Selling out and literally selling out to other companies. What ended up happening is that conversation changed. That interaction that we used to have, that relationship that we used to have with the developers, that parasocial relationship.
Yeah, there you go. He said it.
Started to disappear because they started talking to us through a veil of money. It was always apology letters and tweets that are...
Yeah, it's always been about money, man.
The
parasocial thing's in your fucking head. It's not real.
You're not trying to help us. You're not trying
They're
to
not your friends.
You're just trying to make money.
Yeah, they're businesses. That's what they're all doing.
To make money.
If you just want to make money, go make money, dog.
He's just
Say
blind.
you're doing it for
I'm not
it.
going to say that they aren't
more respect for a company that just laid their
friendlier
nuts out on the
than
table and said,
some of
"We're
the other
doing it because
devs.
we want your
I definitely
money."
appreciate it if they
Rather
do
than trying to paint
the
it
right
in
thing. I think they'd be.
colorful
Yeah, but their actions are doing the opposite thing of their words, dude. You're like, I would respect them if they just said, "I want your money," or if they what?
I'm just saying, remove these shitty mechanics. If you
everything,
really,
everything in that game, like they can have all the live streams they want, and they can be as friendly as they want to be, but that just makes them feel like con artists or like used car salesmen. That's not real. Everything in the game screams, "I want your money. Buy this Warframe. Buy this gun. Pay to skip this wait timer." Buy this Prime thing before it disappears. But it's money, 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 money. This game just screams, I want your money. Don't even open the chat box to chat with other players. Because they want to trade you things for platinum, which costs real money. Every part of the game, even the game's chat box wants your money. Come on, dude. You do sound like an abuse victim now. You do. You sound like you're in an abusive relationship.
Me or Pike?
The guy in the video.
Oh,
I'm talking to him. This dude sounds like he's in an abusive relationship. Talking about the parasocial thing and how that makes everything okay. No, and it didn't used to be like. Yes, it did. It was always about the money. Every company that's ever existed has been about the money ever. Since the dawn of companies. No company is your friend ever. I've been playing video games since video games were a thing. And I can tell you, every single time it's been about the money. Back in the NES era, SNES, PlayStation 1, N64, same story. It's about the money. And it's always been about the money. Because with no money, there's no company for you to pretend to be friends with. This guy's attitude is what's wrong with gaming. It's not the companies. It's fucking you, dog. It's you. You're the problem.
That make
You're
it feel like
brainwashed.
they're our friends, and really, this is all just for you guys. That's not what it is.
It's not what Warframe is either.
I think there's a lot to learn from a company like Digital Extremes, especially in the way that they stay connected with their audience.
Fuck, are they paying you for
That
this?
level of connection brings in
No,
insane levels of endearment, where the people that are playing
World
the
of
game
Tanks
just
is.
genuinely love the work that the people are doing because they like the people too. They like both things at the exact same time, and that's an awesome thing to have. My cat is freaking out right now. That's an awesome thing to have because players at the end of the day do want to be appreciated. We want to be heard. And the more we're heard and the more we're appreciated and the more that the game is actually worth our time and money, the more likely we are to continue to invest in that game and invest in future things that you do.
Right. Right. What you said right there was right. We do want to be appreciated. We do want our money to be respected. And we want a better game for our money. You're right. That's what it should be about. It should be about the game. No part of that sentence mentioned the devs or parasocial relationship or being friends or having this feeling of endearment. None of that shit matters. That's not what I'm paying them for. And it shouldn't be what you're paying them for either. You were right in that last statement. That it should be reflected in the game and nowhere else. They don't need to reflect it anywhere else. I don't need to know them personally. I just need to know that they're listening. Even if I make a Reddit post or a Steam forum comment or whatever, and I complain about the game and I tweet at them, if the community all tweets at them and complains about the same thing, even if they never respond with words, but the next update addressed the issue complained about, the community would be happy. They would still feel heard, even though they were never directly acknowledged. Because the game is what matters, not how friendly the devs are.
However, the vast majority of the industry is really doing nothing other than creating unloyal fan bases. Sure, your game might be doing okay now, but the minute that somebody else comes by, like Digital Extremes or something like that, that does the same things that they do, or better, your audience is gone. I think there's a lot to learn from this. I really do. That's the whole reason I make these wake-up call videos in the first place, is because I think
I haven't seen what the wake-up call is.
Some of the best studios that are on the market. Some of the best.
You haven't said
games
what
that
the
are on
wake-up
market.
call is. What is the thing we're supposed to be learning?
There is.
Other
That's why
than
I'm
do
doing
live
a ton of
streams, I
these
guess.
videos, because they're a lighthouse, an opportunity for those who have drifted too far away to finally see the light, come back to land, touch grass, and find out what players like, what players really want, and how to talk to players again. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching it this long. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you like the video,
Okay, I'm done with you. Oh, yeah, it is pure cope, dude.